Ordinary people who kill know that committing a serious crime will definitely lead to the death penalty. But this young man killed his own father and only got 3 years in prison, for no other reason than simply that he was not yet of legal adult age. It turns out the protagonist's real name is Cha Zu-young. After being sentenced, he was detained in a juvenile detention center, one of the most notorious prisons in this future world. The juvenile prison is not only a place to hold young criminals, but also a dangerous land hiding the dark secrets of society. Cha Ju-young must face harsh challenges, from deadly battles between rival prisoner gangs to survival fights in the harsh prison environment. With his strength and wit, Kaido continuously fights to protect himself, uncover the truth about this advanced system, and reclaim freedom for himself and the oppressed. His journey is illustrated through intense fights, breathtaking action scenes, and his character development from a weakling into a blazing source of vengeance. At this moment, Yuyan is being used as a human target by a group of prisoners for their amusement. Seeing the scene before him made him tremble as he begged Kia to stop. But when the gang leader mentioned the reward money, he couldn't help but feel a little tempted. It turns out that when Juyeon arrived at this prison, he did anything as long as there was money involved. From shoveling snow for 300 won to warming shoes for 100 won. He could even act as someone's dog to take their anger. And this time, just letting the guy shoot him once would earn him 500 won. This made Cho Jae-yong unable to resist nodding in agreement. But when he thought it would be over, if he just endured one shot, suddenly, the man's rubber band snapped. At the same time, the 501 coin flew straight into the toilet bowl. The gang leader did not seem angry, but praised him for being quite lucky. Du-yong became excited because it was the first time he didn't get hurt and even got a big sum of money. While he was happily thanking the guy, said something that made him freeze. Hey, if I just give you money like that, where's the fun in that? Pick that up for me. Just as the saying goes in this life, the only free thing is stealing your bird and your best friend's ass. Everyone in the room was waiting for this, standing there with smug smiles. Oh man, that's a bit much. Hey, I think someone farted here yesterday, but Du-yeon, a little hesitant on the other side, quickly lowered his face and reached into the toilet to grab the coin. Witnessing this scene firsthand, they were completely shocked and gasped. The entire group, seeing the water splashing everywhere, made disgusted faces and shouted, "Which damn dog did that? Oh my god, it stinks. Don't come near me." But after a while of fumbling, Juyeon found and bit down on the coin. Seeing this, the others were even more amazed. Whoa, this guy is top-notch, LOL. Just for 500 won, he sold his soul. He clenched the coin in his mouth, thinking that for just 500 won, Do-young still held that posture. I turned that 500 won into 50,000 won, he thought, with wide eyes full of determination, idiots. After one of the henchmen reminded the gang leader it was time to head to the training yard, Sung-ho still wasn't satisfied and asked, already so soon? He waved his hand behind him and said, Cha Du-young, you smell like rotten meat, go last. Hearing this, the henchman ahead burst out laughing loudly. After speaking, they turned and left, leaving behind murmurs. Whoa, he's only been in for a month and Cha Du-young is already like this. Heard he's out of money. Truly sold his dignity cheap. Exactly, the blue sign says, live responsibly and take responsibility for your life choices. Ju-young heard the last part, that idiot, and didn't care much, dragging his heavy feet outside. Laughter and chatter still echoed. Sent here for attempted murder. You are Cha Ju-young, charged with attempted murder, sentenced to 3 years in prison. Meanwhile, Sung-ho's group was still very pleased. He walked while saying that before the power of money murder or whatever else means nothing. Another asked curiously, why does Cha Ju-young crave money so much? Is he in debt or something? At the same time, a guard's voice called from outside the door. Cha Ju-young 7199. You have a visitor. Hearing this, Ju-young immediately brightened up. Visitors in prison are why I have to work hard to earn money. You looked toward the outside of the cell because the visitor for Ju-young was Jae-young. Seeing you, she frowned irritably and asked, what's wrong with you? Why does your face look like this? And Jae-hyun anxiously blurted out a long string of questions. They don't give you meals here, or did you get beaten again? Faced with a flood of questions, Ju-yeon just stammered, no, that's not it. Jae-hyun is her childhood friend. Don't blame the fool I told you to act tough first or just poke him in the eye with chopsticks. This left you not knowing how to explain. To make Jae-hyun understand, you only managed to utter one word, oh. And she's also the only one who comes to visit me. Suddenly, Du-young asked, why do you come here so often? The transportation costs are expensive. Hearing that, she snapped up angrily, her face furious like a lion, yelling, do you think I'm a beggar or something? Then Jae-hyun pointed at the money jar and lowered his voice. Do you think I'm so short on money that I have to pawn this even though my parents are gone? She asked for an explanation, but I'm not stupid enough to accept suspicious money like that casually. This surprised Juyeon so much that he gaped and said, "What do you mean suspicious money?" You widened your eyes and asked again about the promise, but Jaehyun casually replied, "The promise was that after graduating high school we would live together in Seoul." Her gaze was caring and sincere as she reminded, "Leave the money matters to me. You just focus on taking good care of your health." Just then the guard shouted, "Visiting time is over," leaving Jaehyun stunned for a moment. But she still tried to say a few last words. "You understand, right? Just thinking about getting out of prison is not enough." Jaehyun continued to warn, "Absolutely don't do anything stupid, that's a promise." Meanwhile, Huyeon sat behind the glass in the cell, only raising his hand to wave and smiling warmly at her. When he saw Jaehyun's figure walk away, the smile on his lips suddenly faded as Juyeon sat there lost in thought. His mind was a jumbled mess, and he suddenly thought of the promise. Suddenly, memories from the past all flooded back. "Jaehyun, I'm sorry," Juyeon kept apologizing in the hospital. "Don't say anymore. It's because of that guy that you had to—" At that time, the girl's whole body was covered in wounds. What was Jaehyun thinking? "Sorry," she said, trembling all over. "Are you kidding me?" Then Jaehyun angrily pushed him against the wall, shouting, "Now is not the time to worry about others." Her eyes were wide with concern. "Your father was hit in the head by the vase you threw and is still in a coma." Looking at the man lying quietly on the hospital bed, Jaehyun continued, "If he doesn't wake up, the police won't let you off. You should think about that." But Dooyoung replied sadly, "It's okay. They will consider that I have suffered domestic violence for so long." He added to comfort her, "And the punishment won't be harsh. And what will happen will happen." Defendant Cha Doo-young, the court sentenced him to 3 years in prison. But Joseon was stunned and looked grim, thinking, "Would I have to live my whole life under my father's abuse? Just because I couldn't endure it once I have to go to jail. You're going to prison too." Then Jaehyun came to advise, "Remember to eat well," encouraging Jueon to try to get out of this hell quickly. At that time, she said, "If anyone bullies you, tell me right away, got it?" Jaehyun's voice echoed back, "Promise me." But you just glanced without saying a word. Then Dooyoung silently turned his face and left. "Even though you are in prison, if you cause trouble, your sentence will be increased." Back to reality, the thugs in the cell were arguing, "You bastards want to stay here longer. On the other hand, if you become a model prisoner, you might get your sentence reduced." Holding the photo and examining it, you silently resolved, "So 3 years." Juliet looked intently at the photo. "Wait for me for 3 more years." It turned out the photo was a group picture of you and Jaehyun during training. Jeon didn't notice Sung-ho approaching with a sly grin, mocking, "That's great." Seeing this, you startled and quickly hid the photo. Sensing Jeon's ambiguous attitude, he got even more curious and asked, "Is she your girlfriend?" You only awkwardly replied, "Ah, no, just a friend." Sung-ho laughed gleefully. "Oh, so it's one-sided love." Then he loudly waved his hand, "Give it here." Dooyoung was a bit scared, but stubbornly held on to the photo. "You can't have this." Sung-ho bared his teeth in warning, emphasizing, "Try what Cha Doo-young." Dare to resist. As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately raised his hand high and shouted, "It's been a while since I disciplined you, hasn't it?" Sung-ho punched hard into his face. Just as he was hitting fiercely, the voice of a prison guard rang out, "Room 36 has a new inmate." Seeing his brother, he stopped and whispered anxiously, "Huh, a new guy? Haven't heard anything yet." Suddenly, the silhouette of the new criminal gradually appeared. He walked behind, slightly threatening the new prisoner, saying, "Please don't cause trouble. Right now, you're the only one I care about." When the newcomer entered, Sung-ho quickly recognized him and shouted loudly, "Hey, I know that guy." He fell to the ground in fear, pointing at the newcomer, the guy who killed 7 people. Hearing this, the gang members were shocked and gaped. Looking over, it turned out the newcomer was Makiom charged with the murder. Sentenced 25 years in prison, the highest sentence for a juvenile. The atmosphere in the cell suddenly became suffocatingly tense. No exception, Dooyoung was also startled, thinking this guy killed 7 people. At this moment, all attention was focused on the newcomer. Sung-ho trembled as he stood up. "What's the big deal?" He stepped closer and said, "Just 7 people. Who here is innocent anyway?" Sung-ho looked at Makiom with a sinister smile and asked, "So you have killed before? Looks pretty scary." He stared at him and warned, "But don't get cocky. Better be sensible, okay?" Hearing this, Makiom was very resentful but still tried to keep calm. He intended to say something, but after thinking it over, Makiom decided not to say more. He just turned his face away. Makiom's indifferent attitude made Sung-ho quite uncomfortable. Then he burst into loud laughter. I was going to go easy, but this idiot doesn't know how to behave. Then he lunged forward to punch him from behind. But seeing that Makiom was no pushover, although caught off guard, he was very agile and quickly dodged. This broke the rules here. Everyone was shocked, frozen in place. Sung-ho gritted his teeth and thought, you bastard, get away. Then he counterattacked. Du-yong was quite impressed with this guy and thought, this one's different. Watching Makiom fight back, he exclaimed, the guy who killed 7 people. Du-yong was horrified, eyes wide open, whether or not it was true. But at the second hit, he didn't dodge or resist at all. That punch made Makiom's face tilt back, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He was stunned, frozen, thinking, what? Then came a barrage of kicks from Sung-ho into his body. Each kick, not hard, but accompanied by curses. You dog, who the hell do you think you are in this prison to look down on me? His eyes looked down arrogantly and continued. In this cell, whether you're a murderer, rapist, or addict, you still have to obey me. This scene left the others in the room in disbelief. So he thought he was tough, but now Makiom was getting beaten badly. He was getting roughed up by Sung-ho like a dog. This was beyond what people around expected. Turns out, he was just a rookie. After a beating that left him bruised and battered, he spent several days in humiliation, unable to lift his head. After being forced to kneel, Makiom was then made a laborer for him. Go get some water. But thanks to that, they let him off. He glared at Sung-ho in resentment, but Sung-ho just grinned and asked, what? Better not resist. Makiom not only did everything for them, but every mistake was met with an immediate punch, whether he was right or wrong. He glanced at the scene and thought bitterly, just joined prison, so still a bit clumsy. But thanks to him, Ju-yeon's workload was lighter. While mopping the floor, he muttered to himself, I'm the one who's more bothered now. After a long day, night gradually fell. By then, everyone in the cell was sound asleep. Only he and Makiom were still tossing and turning, unable to sleep. Jeon started a conversation. Hey, turn your head over. He's asking if you're stupid. Is it so bad to flatter the boss a little? Jeon continued explaining, anyway, in this chicken coop, the boss is king, the president. Know your place and do as I say. The kind boy reminded Makiom, if you don't know how to fight, don't pretend to. From tomorrow on, remember to understand that yourself. But hearing this, he suddenly interrupted, you. Makiom frowned and asked back, have you always lived so cowardly? Hearing this, Ju-yeon also thought confusedly and exclaimed, what? He thought to himself, I advised him, but he still won't listen. While he turned away, not wanting to hear the previous words, Ju-yeon grew even more restless, thinking, living in a cowardly way. He remembered the scene of Jason falling apart that day and silently vowed, I will endure the image of Ju-yeon, angrily unable to hold back and hit his father. I will endure everything until the time comes, remembering her outside until she was able to leave here. In a neighborhood near the prison, Jaeon looked at the sky where snow was falling endlessly and said, so cold. Then she sadly thought of him so thin in prison. From afar, Zeon tightened her arms. She needed to bring him something more, hoping he can endure in there until his term ends. She stood there lost in thought, knowing it would be very hard. Looking at the traffic lights on the street, Zeon silently thought, hope you still eat well and keep healthy. Thank you for your gift. She hugged the food box tightly, hoping we will meet again soon. Thinking this, the pedestrian light turned green. Zion quickly stepped forward to cross to the other side. Suddenly, a car sped down the road at a reckless speed. By the time she realized, the car was already close to her. And before she could react, the car crashed straight into Jaeon. On the other side, Du-yong was still in a deep sleep, unaware of what was happening. Meanwhile, she had already collapsed unconscious on the street. The beautifully prepared sushi rolls by Jaeon hadn't even reached his hands yet. The car that caused the accident had fled, leaving her lying faint with scattered food in the freezing winter cold. And then as the sun rose high, a new day began. Early in the morning, Jeon was urgently called out by a guard who announced, it's unfortunate. Hearing this, he felt confused with a bad premonition coming. Anxiously, he asked, what's unfortunate? The guard replied, yesterday at the intersection in front of the prison gate, there was a fatal accident. The guard hesitated and continued, meaning? Hearing this, Ju-yeon felt like the sky was collapsing right before his eyes. He fell into a dazed and terrified state. Just like that, Chuyen sadly knelt down in his room. Seeing his unusual behavior, Makiom was also somewhat confused. Meanwhile, Sung-ho was completely unaware of anything. As soon as he entered the bathroom, he shouted loudly, "Hey, Juyeon's dad, you bastard! You didn't clean the bathroom today." Sung-ho quickly ran over to Juyeon, who was sitting absent-mindedly there, and glared, "Hey, you're grown up now, right?" Seeing Juyeon silent and ignoring his words, he stared wide-eyed. "What?" Seeing Juyeon admiring a photo of his lover so early in the morning, Sung-ho continued, "Looking at your girlfriend's photo in broad daylight and sitting there dazed. What's that about?" Suddenly, a subordinate in the room said, "Hey, Sung-ho, there was a traffic accident in front of the prison gate today, right? It was that girl." Sung-ho was startled and responded, "What? Really?" He not only didn't comfort or encourage, but also sneered and said calmly, "What? Visiting her there and it's just friends. Why did you lie earlier?" Sung-ho snatched the photo from his hand and laughed mockingly. "So pathetic girlfriend died now. What are you going to do?" Looking at the two people in the photo, he began to taunt like rubbing salt into Huyeon's wound. "Oh, so cute, such a shame. It should have been mine." Suddenly, Sung-ho raised the photo and shouted, "Who wants this photo? Starting bid is 500 won. Cheap as dirt," the gang shouted. "I'll pay 600 won. I'll pay 700 won, 1,000. Oh, 1,000 already." A chubby subordinate spoke up, "Hey, do you think you could date her?" The guy next to him laughed loudly. "You crazy? How can you date a dead girl?" He laughed gleefully. "Well, if she's still alive, it's not just dating." Then Ho glanced at his lips with a hungry regret. "What a pity." At that point, another guy said, "The crazy guy wants to go to jail again." The fat guy asked back, "So what if I have that taste? Can you leave me alone?" While they were mocking, they inadvertently forgot Gu Yeon's feelings. At this moment, only he remained silent, focusing on observing everything around him. Maybe Makyom also sensed his discomfort. Suddenly, Juyeon remembered the conversation from last night. "Have you always lived so cowardly?" Then you suddenly replied, startled, "What?" He stood there watching as the mocking attitude of those people still didn't stop. Majiam heard the laughter echoing, now he's become the limited edition. The expression of discomfort suddenly turned frightening. Sung-ho still didn't realize the danger and kept laughing, "Let me handle this." But before he could finish, he was hit by a powerful punch. It turned out Juyeon had thrown the punch. Ho seemed to channel all his pent-up emotions into that blow. Then he silently looked down. Witnessing this resistance, they were so shocked they couldn't keep their mouths shut. Juyeon furiously punched his face repeatedly with no mercy. His eyes became terrifyingly cold and sharp. Majiam stood still, watching Juyeon. He remembered the reason he came here. Earlier, Juyeon had said, at that time he recounted, "You know what? Everyone calls my dad the right-hand man of a notorious mob boss." Juyeon lowered his head and continued, "Since I was little, domestic violence was an everyday thing for me." Then he reluctantly told his story with a helpless tone. "But what can I do? After all, that's still my dad, so I had to endure and live with it." Jeon whispered, but then continued, "Only once did I lose control." Hearing Jeon's old story, Majin was momentarily stunned. That aggressive aura came out when he touched my friend. At the same time, Yu-young punched Song-ho until he was bruised. The bastard was still bitter and tried to shout orders to his henchmen to kill him. As soon as he finished, they all charged to attack. On the other side, he observed the fight while recalling what he had said. However, after growing up through near-death beatings, I learned one thing. Juyeon was attacking one by one, fighting bloodily with blood splattering everywhere. Only Magium stood outside observing everything without any action. The room was now covered in a sea of blood, with this guy and that guy lying dazed on the ground. Damn it, I was wrong. In the end, Song-ho gave up and begged for mercy. "I'll give you money. You need money. How much do you want to be satisfied?" But Juyeon just laughed. Money. Money is good, but now then came a series of crazy punches. I don't need it anymore. The photo of him and Jaehyun was stained with blood. The reason I got out of the jail, Juyeon kept punching him. He stood outside, watching and listening to the reason why he endured it all. Ho was beaten badly with a swollen face, but he still showed no sign of stopping. It was all gone, and according to him, Yu-young recalled the old scene of following his father's footsteps and becoming a gangster. Just keep doing it, the abuse repeated every day over and over. That's what my father told me. Once I got beaten, then I did it again and again, not stopping, but repeating it. The repeated beatings every day when I was little, when Juyeon was still a child. Your dad kept saying to fight back with strength. I couldn't look that person in the eye. He once praised that you've gotten stronger now. Until the day you get the tattoo, you will have everything Juyeon desires. That's also the time when I was a little angry. Only then the tattoo and my father were the two things I hated deeply. While he just smiled gently and said, it should be that way. At that moment, Juyeon rushed forward and attacked many times. The gaze had to be like that the eyes of that damn dragon. Suddenly, the train of thought was cut off and returned to reality. The prison guards here followed the noise and came one after another loudly shouting, "What are you doing?" Then their eyes widened in shock, unable to believe the truth right before them. Before them lay the bodies of the prisoners moaning in pain, and Juyeon was probably the mastermind behind this crazy act. "What the hell is going on?" he muttered in horror. Jeon's father couldn't possibly be the one, right? But he hesitated for a moment, then calmly replied, "Yes." Jeon's face was now covered in blood. He just glanced at the guards and admitted, "I did it." And then right after, in another prison cell, he was punished for his reckless behavior. But it seemed the pain in Yu Yong's heart still hadn't eased. Holding the photo, his eyes filled with pain, he stared blankly, thinking about the past. Now all that's left are memories. No one knows how much time passed, but Ju Yeon still sat silently holding the photo and staring. He still wanted to believe this. Then suddenly beautiful memories flooded back. Jason angrily said, "Are you crazy?" But Ju Yeon only quietly replied with one word. Meanwhile, she indignantly said, "What parent would hit their child before the first day of school?" Looking at his bruised face, Jae-yeon shouted, "That's just too much." The two stood in front of the bustling schoolyard on the first day of school. She continued to scold, "He didn't even bother to come congratulate you." And it seemed Wishan was too used to this, so he only forced a smile and said, "It's okay, I'll be fine in a day or two." This made Jae-yeon even angrier. "Fine." She spoke more passionately, "I have to talk to your dad." Hearing this, Juyeon panicked and stopped her. "But didn't you promise you'd never come to my house?" No. He gently tapped Jaeon's shoulder and said, "If you don't keep your word, you'll have to call me Appa for the rest of your life." But she just looked away and cursed with one word. Then Jaeon sadly said, "Can a homeless person live a miserable life like this?" Hearing that, Juyeon was embarrassed. "That's not what I meant." Then Jaeon shouted "Seoul," which confused him. To Juyeon's surprise, she continued, "When I graduate high school, I'll move to Seoul to live. I remember the days living here. I was so fed up with life at the orphanage and this suffocating neighborhood." She eagerly continued to share her future plans. "I'll go to Seoul, graduate from a good university, then work at a big company. I'll drive a fancy car, carry designer bags, and live in an apartment with a view of the Han River." After hearing this, Ju Yeon was surprised and asked, "Do you like material things that much?" Jaehyun laughed and asked, "Don't you know?" At that moment he thought, "I get it," and muttered to himself, "Seun, if Jaehyun leaves, I'll be all alone." Thinking about being left all alone, but she had proposed, "So you'll go with me, right?" Before Huyeon could say what, Rajon already confirmed, hooking their fingers together, "It's a deal." The two hooked fingers promising each other. She continued, "If you don't keep your word, you'll have to call me sister for life." He helplessly laughed and exclaimed, "Why is there a punishment like that, geez?" But to outsiders, it looked like they were a couple, so someone said, "Such a pretty couple, let me take a photo of you two." Jeon still tried to say, "We're not a couple," but Rajan happily agreed, "Yes, please take it." 1-2 cheers to starting high school. And since then, the two of them have a photo like this together. Back to reality in the quiet hallway, suddenly loud noises erupted so much that the door seemed about to blow off. It turned out he was pounding his fist hard, as if tormenting himself, wishing he hadn't gone there. Jeon lowered his head and realized John hadn't come either. At this moment, he seemed to go crazy. The continuous punches were physical torment. Each punch became heavier and more powerful. Juyeon punched until blood sprayed like rain and fell to the ground on Rajan, but he still didn't seem to stop. The blood-stained photo lay on the floor. Ju-yong felt guilty and burst into tears. At that moment, the prison guard's voice rang out, "Cha Ju-yong." He showed sympathy, saying he was sorry for Ju-yong's situation. The guard continued with concern, "But since yesterday, you haven't touched a single spoon of rice." Standing outside the door, he called out, "I can't let this go on. First calm down and eat something." The guard continued to comfort him, saying people have to live, but Ju-yeon ignored everything he said. At this point, he was utterly broken and sat down on the floor. Tears kept streaming down nonstop. Jeon kept locking himself in the room, quietly murmuring, "Sorry." Scene shifts to the juvenile prison dining hall. Everyone was rushing to eat. Meijin was also here having a meal. Accidentally, he overheard the gossiping group nearby. "Have you heard the news? What happened?" One happily retold his name was Cha Ju-yang. "I heard he hit a fellow inmate and was put in punishment." Someone asked why. The other continued, "Because the chief mocked him for his girlfriend dying in a car accident, calling him crazy." The group gasped in surprise. Oh no. Then the whole group suddenly burst into laughter, saying, "That's just right." Suddenly a shadow also approached to see. It turned out that person had also overheard their story, making Magian behind curious to watch. While the group was still mocking, saying, "So does that mean he's taking the chief's place?" Yongchan appeared. Without hesitation, he pressed the face of the one who just spoke down onto the food tray. Yongchan angrily shouted, "What are you saying about me behind my back?" He sneered harshly. Interesting. Then Yongchan laughed weirdly and added, "Let me join him. His name's Park Jongchan Special Charge." Then Yongchan grabbed the other guy's hair, curiously asking, "What about the guy who hit the chief?" "Just right." He looked up and asked why. Then Yongchan narrowed his eyes dangerously and suggested, "Or should I hit someone too?" At the threat, the whole group turned pale with fear. "Who dares make a sound?" Then the group forced laughter, saying, "No, definitely not." Only the guy whose face was pushed into the food tray didn't say a word. Seeing this, Yongchan leaned close and whispered into his ear, "Are you okay?" The mushroom-headed guy's face was covered with food and rice. He tried to reassure himself, replying, "Sorry, Yongchan, it's my fault for talking too much." Hearing that, Yongchan laughed excitedly, then calmly put his hands in his pockets and asked, "So his name is Cha Ju-young, right?" The voice echoed, making Meijian frown in discomfort. A week later, Ju-young was finally allowed back to his cell. The prison guard announced that Cha Ju-young, the chief who was hit by him, was still in the hospital. He reminded him that depending on the situation, Ju-young would be released in another week, so don't cause more trouble. Hearing this, Ju-young silently lowered his head without saying anything. When he heard a noise, he looked up. At that moment, Ju-young also slowly walked back to his place. Despite the good news, his expression remained sad. Majian quietly thought he had resisted the chief in this cell. He looked at them and thought he wouldn't let it go. Then what was bound to happen happened. A subordinate shouted, "You bastard!" The mushroom-headed guy stood up and shouted, "Cha Ju-young, you." But unexpectedly, he put his hand on Ju-young's shoulder, greeting him, "Are you okay? You must have had a hard time." Suddenly, they changed their attitude, 180 degrees, and started flattering him, which surprised Ju-young a bit. They all gathered around Ju-young, asking about the punishment room. Must be tough. Now you can rest. Everyone was asking this and that. Let me massage you. Du-young must be thirsty now. Go get some water. Witnessing this, Majiam had countless interesting things to write in his own diary. Recently, I learned a lesson at school. People care about strength, parents, appearance, grades, and other factors. But in the juvenile detention center, strength is everything. A while later at the juvenile prison sports stadium, he was still leaning against the fence, jotting down interesting things anytime, anywhere. Suddenly, Jian spoke up. "Hey, Magiam, you keep asking why you did that." Hearing this, Magiam blankly asked, "Do what?" Jian looked down and said he remembered that terrifying scene that day. He said, "When I killed the gang leader, you stopped me. You went to jail for killing 7 people. Jian looked at his fist confused. "Why would I stop you?" Hearing this, he just wondered why. Then suddenly memories flooded Magiam's mind. The scene of him wearing dirty sandals stained with blood, the chaos in the classroom. Why did you do that? At that very room, Magiam had killed his classmates. He was covered in blood, looking up and asking why. At this point, Maji just swallowed hard once. After calming down, he started to speak, but before finishing, a loud shout interrupted. "Are you Cha Ayudong?" Yongchan sneered and said, "Really, you look weaker than I thought." He pressed his face close and asked, "Someone like you took down Kim Sung-ho. That guy was weak anyway." Yongchan just looked at him and hummed, then after a moment became annoyed and asked, "Why did you do it?" Looking at those two, Yongchan rapidly asked, "You really want to be gang leader, huh?" But Du-young didn't waste words on someone like him, coldly whispering, "Go away, I'm not interested." That brief answer caught Yongchan off guard. He went from shock to a slight smile. Finally, Yongchan smirked and said, "Chaju, you're one arrogant bastard." Then he kicked off and asked, "Do you know what I hate the most?" He punched Ju-young hard in the stomach and continued, "It's ungrateful dogs like you." Yongchan glanced warningly at him as if to say, "Let me teach you," instead of Kim Sung-ho. He followed with a series of punches that never missed. His eyes were filled with murderous intent, talking about what happens to a dog biting its owner when suddenly a guard outside the fence cleared his throat, then looked at both without saying more. Du-young sighed sadly. "Damn, we got caught." But Yongchan immediately forced a smile and joked, "Well, hey." The guard suddenly ignored it like nothing happened, making him even more confident. "Did you know Yongchan is basically the gang leader? You can fight however you want to keep order." That's the rule of this juvenile detention center. He arrogantly stretched out his hand. So you're allowed to fight. Despite all this, Du-young hadn't reacted, which annoyed Yong-chan. Why don't you fight back, like when you fought your gang leader? He frowned, then looked at Majiam, calling out, "Hey, killer, what's wrong with this bastard?" No one knew what happened next, just a flash of blinding light exploded. He was thrown back. Yong-chan grimaced and shouted, "You stagger like a beaten dog." He clenched his fist to warm up, saying, "If you do that." At the same time, Yong-chan rolled up his sleeve, revealing a tattoo on his arm. "Then beating you won't be fun." Yuyeon's gaze slowly became hazy, possibly losing interest in life, drained of motivation. Suddenly, the tattooed arm lunged quickly toward Yuyeon. Seeing the dragon there, he recalled his cruel, violent father and the beatings he suffered growing up. This dragon tattoo was what Yuyeon hated the most. He looked at him and said, "You sound like you don't know what fear is." Yong-chan stood watching Yuyeon, guessing. Could it be because he pressed his face close and laughed loudly, bluntly stating Yuyeon's pain in that car accident? Not only did Yun-chan punch him, but he also stomped on Yuyeon's face when that girl got hit by the truck. But when Jaeon was mentioned, he immediately sprang up and punched Yun-chan hard in the mouth, causing him to spit blood. Yun-chan was also surprised by Yuyeon's fierce reaction. Not stopping there, he grabbed Yun-chan's arm and slammed his whole body down onto the ground. At this moment, the situation reversed. He was pinned with his head pressed tightly against the fence wall, but still stubbornly said, "That bastard Du-young is vicious," Gao said. "Say that again." Yong-chan confusedly replied, "What did you say, you dog?" Hearing that, he swung his leg and kicked hard at his head. He ordered, "Say that again." By now, Yong-chan was a bit terrified. He gritted his teeth and shouted loudly, "Let me go, damn it. If you take your hand off me, you'll regret it." But Du-young didn't care and continued furiously kicking Yong-chan's head. He yelled, "Say that again." Using both hands, he tightly bit Yong-chan's arm, causing Yong-chan to moan in intense pain. The heavily tattooed arm was squeezed tighter and tighter, making him fearful as he said, "Wait, what are you doing?" Within moments, Du-young had twisted Yong-chan's arm tightly. Blood sprayed out like rain. Magiam, standing outside watching amidst his screams of pain, growled, "Say that again." At this point, Yuyeon seemed to go mad, relentlessly stomping on Yong-chan's body. Finally, he was beaten so badly that he was unrecognizable. Since childhood, the only place I could vent my anger was with Du-young, looking into the cold, threatening eyes. "Say that again, and this is the place." Two women whispering nearby overheard and said, "Isn't that the gangster crew? This guy looks like one of those bullies." Their gazes were fixed on him. He'll have a bad influence on this neighborhood. Du-young's eyes darkened as he controlled his emotions. Staying calm is what I'm best at. He stood in front of a house about to open the door and go inside. Suddenly, he heard a scream coming from inside. He hurriedly opened the door. His face shocked. Could something be wrong with that voice? Inside, Gang Ryan was smashing everything around, causing chaos at a very bad time. The person on the ground was a girl with her eyes slightly closed. He frowned. "Is she your friend?" His face was panicked as he shouted, "There are bottles of liquor all around." He barged into someone else's house and even dared to point warning that if anyone dared to touch her again, it would be better if that guy didn't exist. He held the person back, thinking of Zion's words, "I need to talk to your father." His eyes were cold, so I scolded him a few times. His gaze was full of resentment, hands clenched. "Stay calm, that's what I'm best at." He glanced and warned him that if he heard it one more time, the flower would be torn apart and water would flow like that day. His voice echoed in Juyeon's ears. "Then I'll send him back to his parents." As he turned and walked away, Juyeon grabbed the ceramic vase in his hand and smashed it on his head. Near dawn, Jaeon was still lying unconscious on the floor with rays of sunlight shining into the room. Juyeon's shoulder trembled, slightly, eyes full of anger. The clothes he wore were stained with blood, unable to stay calm. Gangyeon was taken to the hospital, surrounded by tangled medical machines. He was in a vegetative state. The doctor looked at the hospital bed. "Unfortunately, there is still a chance of waking up." The doctor leaned toward Tazuyong. "Unless a miracle happens." He thoughtfully stared at the hospital bed, clenching his hands, as if holding in all the frustration he had endured. "All right," he stepped forward to him, muttering, "This is the end." Morning in the prison, the inmates were gathered outside, murmuring, "What's going on? Isn't that the crazy Julian?" He lowered his head, still hearing whispers around him. "Just got out of the cell and already committing crimes again." At Juyeon's feet lay a young man covered in blood, his tattooed arm twisted backwards in a gruesome way. Jeon's eyes were filled with extreme cold-bloodedness. All the prisoners were intently watching him. Suddenly, a voice rang out, "Exercise time is over. Prisoners, return to your rooms." Everyone dispersed to other places. Inside the building, someone was watching the yard. It seemed a bit noisy down there. The man holding a cup of tea, probably because this was the place where hyperactive kids gathered. He chuckled softly, "Glad to see you're well. I heard you just got discharged, right?" Many subordinates surrounded him. "If you feel uncomfortable, please tell me. I will do my best to meet any requests." He was Trang's CEO and director of the Juvenile Detention Center. He frowned. "By the way, CEO Trang, who did you come to see?" He smiled slightly, a smug look on his face. In the prison cell, the prisoners sat upright, facing each other, their eyes all fixed on Julian. Next to him was a man writing in a diary. "I guessed I would be sharing a cell with a fool." Outside guard 7.199 Yu Yong arrived, his eyes filled with surprise mixed with curiosity. Someone came to visit the guard, led him down the hallway as dark as his life. His gaze was pensive. Who was it? Who came to visit him? He thought back. His mother ran away when he was very young, and relatives cut ties. He slightly looked up. Who was it? Arriving at the place, the guard opened the door, and he was very surprised. The place was the prison office. "Why come here?" Inside sat Juyeon's father on the sofa. "Long time no see." You frown when you see him, recalling the scene of him in the house reeking of alcohol. Gang Yong flashes a sinister smile. "It's good to see you alive and well." You remember the moment he was lying on the bed, eyes wide with fear and surprise. "Impossible," he revealed that strange tattoo. "Your son holds someone back," stammering, "How could he?" The prison director laughs, pats your shoulder, and slyly says, "Kid Trang Sok," leaning close to whisper, "You look surprised, huh? He just miraculously woke up not long ago." Gang Yong stares intently at you. Trang Sok smiles. "Lucky, isn't it, because your father is still healthy?" You recall the doctor's words, "Unfortunately, he still has a chance to wake up." Yu Yong's face freezes, unable to believe the truth before his eyes. "He said the chance of your father waking up was very slim, but how could that be?" He smirks mockingly. "Still don't believe it." He frowns. "The one who made me, Gang Rayon, the right hand of the powerful organization." He looks up at the ceiling. "Not the police to be like this." He looks straight into Juyeon's eyes, who was actually his son. "When I opened my eyes, I realized I was in the hospital." Tears streamed down his face like rain, and I felt extremely sad. His words make your gaze confused. "Gang Yong, all right, I feel very sorry for you." The officer beside him hands him a tissue to wipe his tears. "As a father, I really want to see you. I love my son, Do Yong." Hearing these words, your head feels dizzy. He continues to lament, "This father can do nothing for you, so I had no choice but to kill her." Yu Yong's eyes tremble at his careless words. He recalls that kid crossing the street that night. Jarian was holding a box of food. The truck suddenly rushed forward. The headlights shone on her, scattering everything, sushi rolls spilling everywhere. Zajin lay motionless on the street, along with the scattered food. She struggles to get up, her face grimacing in pain. Gangran stands across the street watching. Zajin's weak voice, "Please help, please." Juyong's eyes widen, filled with horror. Gangyong pushes himself up, with one hand, walks toward you, looking at you like he's seen a ghost. "Didn't you say it's best not to have this father?" He recalls the family scene lying sprawled on the street. This is what parents should do for their children. He walks away, leaving Dajan behind, muttering, "You probably don't understand because you never had parents anyway." He frowns. "I thought you were a poor child who only knew to endure and tolerate." He recalls the chaotic scene the day you wanted to kill your father, but that day was the first time you took action. He laughs. "That daughter was the one who lit the fuse." Your face pales hearing his words. Gangran. "So I tried to erase her, I found a way." His eyes flash with anger. "Killed her for you." Light shines into the room. Trang Sok gasps in surprise. "Wait, hold him back quickly." Juyeon turns to resist, but didn't expect an electric shock attack from behind. Juyeon convulses violently, knees buckling. The officer uses a stun gun with two sharp prongs, sparks flying from the barrel, causing Juyeon to fall face down onto the cold floor. Trang Seok looks at you and breathes a sigh of relief. The husband jerks. Yuyong clenches his teeth, eyes full of resentment. Gangyong approaches you. "You want revenge by killing your father." He reveals a strange tattoo on his chest. He shouts, "I'll tell you the only way to kill me." They all look at you. Gang Ryan, some of our members are in this juvenile detention center. The prisoners have strange tattoos. Gang Ryan, most of them have tattoos, but some of them may become pillars of the organization in the future. He sneers, "Prove to me you are the best of all, and control the entire juvenile detention center. The rays of the setting sun shine on this detention center. Gangyan, if you can climb high and gain recognition, then the day you can defeat me will come. Juyeon's eyes are filled with hatred for Gangyan and surpass me as the organization's second in command. The dragon coils next to the heaven symbol of the Gangyan organization, preparing to face the heavenly dragon. He has sharp eyes, a slight smile at the corner of his mouth. You will achieve what I, your father, could not accomplish in my whole life. He stares intently at Juyeon lying on the ground. If you can do that, my life will be complete because of you. He turns to look at Kang Sok, asking him to take care of my son. Kang Sok, of course, sir, don't worry. The officer pulls out a stun gun and shoots Jo Young again. Kang Seok shouts, what's going on again? Behind Gangyong, Jo Young resists, don't talk nonsense. He turns around, Jo Young raises a fist. Today your eyes are full of resentment. A palm strike as fast as a cut, I will kill Gang Ryan and the entire organization controlling the heavenly dragon. My whole life will be complete because of you. Do Young struggles to crawl and grab his leg. Don't say useless words anymore. Your eyes are full of resentment. Today will be the day you die. Behind him, you raise a fist, but before you can do anything, he pushes your head down. Forgive my rudeness, he whispers into Juyeon's ear, young master. His arm raises and grabs Juyeon's hair tightly. He pushes his head straight down to the ground. Two officers stand dumbfounded, their eyes full of fear. He tightly grips Juyeon's body, smiling smugly. That is my duty while serving under your boss. Juyeon refuses to submit. He gathers strength to stand up. He frowns, what the hell? He uses force to hold you down, not allowing resistance. Do you think my strength is only on par with the commander of the heavenly dragon gang, Juyeon? A smirk with just 2 legs and you already resist. Look around with your big eyes, you foolish son of mine. Yuyeong's eyes are filled with resentment. Gang Ryeon and his subordinates surround you. Somehow you'll never be able to reach me. His eyes are icy cold as he looks at his son. Your reckless actions only make everything chaotic. He glances sideways. The only way to kill me is to control this entire prison, Juyeong. His eyes blaze with intense hatred, Gangyong. Smirking, I look forward to the moment we meet again, son of mine. Gangyong and his subordinates leave. Sun rays shine into the corridor where Juyeon's body is covered with wounds. Jun struggles to stand. His hand clenches tightly with resentment. Inside the wood workshop, prisoners are focused on working. Jian is welding a chair when the warden approaches. You've met today's quota of 3,397. You can rest now. He understands. On the other side, he frowns and mumbles about Jian's hammer skills being finished. He wonders if that didn't ruin his brain. That guy frowns, but whatever you do doesn't really matter. He doesn't look like a killer at all. The guy next to him looks more like a loser. From afar, a prisoner carries a box to me. Bringing this toolbox is good, Jun. Put it on the shelf, got it. He looks curious, not understanding what they're looking at. The man's neck is covered with strange tattoos. Jun frowns as the toolbox falls to the floor, screws scattered everywhere. Gyeon angrily, why did you knock over my neatly organized toolbox, gunman? Sorry, my hand's a little bit off. On the floor is a long, sharp screw. Guillaume's eyes light up as he sees it wonderful. He laughs. Is it yours, Guillaume? Guillaume recalls the time long ago since we graduated from high school, right? He frowns. I saw you in the news, so we've met before, haven't we? Do you remember who I am, Guillaume? His voice lowers. Of course, Gunman. He looked into Guillaume's eyes. Yeah. And I have something to talk to you about. He laughed about that news story, the one where you killed 7 people. Guillaume looked thoughtful. Gunman, did you do that? I still can't believe it, just imagining it. Guillaume from Techo High School actually did that. Guyan, what do you want, gunman? Nothing at all. Anyway, you've always been a model student at school, right? The warden stepped forward and shouted, stop talking. Get back to work. He turned his face away, waving happily. Well, then, see you next time, Guillaume. He looked at the tools on the table, holding a wooden stick with nails, hurting himself. His hands stained with blood. The night in the prison was very quiet. Inside the prisoner's room, Chuyeon sat curled up in a corner. Thinking back to Garyong's words, the only way to kill me is to control the entire prison. His eyes blazing with furious hatred. The only chance to kill the man I call father. He observed everyone around him, wondering where to start. Prisoner 752, he's holding his stomach, starving to death. He hissed, damn it, why is the menu all green? He frowned. Should I report this place for violating rights? He said, are you dreaming? I haven't even had a single pizza. Then dying would be a happy thing. He said, have you forgotten you're in prison? He said, now that's a wish, you idiot. Juyeon slightly raised his head. A wish. A guy sitting near the door whispered, the guard is coming. Juyeon stood up and walked to the door. Boss guard, what's going on? He frowned. Juyeon, why are you calling him guard? It's nothing important. The guard looked at Juyeon. But did you deliver the pizza? Everyone's eyes turned to him in surprise. The guard frowned. Did you forget this is a prison? Out right now. He saw the pizza, his eyes lit up. This is amazing. They all sat down to eat pizza. How long has it been since I had food from outside? He said, damn, it's so good I'm about to cry, thanks Juyeon. Juyeon's eyes were full of thought. I can't believe it, but the prison manager and guards all work under my father's influence. He thought back. Kang Suk must feel relieved that his father is still safe. Right, Gang Young? Take care of my son, Kang Seok. You don't have to worry. They treated me, the son of that man, very specially. I need to probe the limits of what I can do in this prison. He looked at Juyeon. No, Huyeon, who are you really? He frowned, hearing the praise about himself. Maybe his father was an artist. Could he be the third generation of Cheonbong? He clenched his fists, staring out the prison window. To get revenge, I can do anything even though I'm his son. Duyong frowned. But why is Gayom like that? Everyone was eating pizza, only Gayom sat silently in a corner. Hey Gayom, why don't you come over here and eat pizza? He ignored him. He looks strange today. He looks gloomy. What's wrong, Gyeom? He kept his head down, gripping his knees tightly. The next day at the wood shop, they were still working as usual. Jeon heard a noise. Gunmen approached. My hand slipped again. The toolkit fell to the ground. Screws and nails fell onto Grom. Gunman said sarcastically with a calm face, sorry, my hand was a bit slippery. Gyom's face grew angry, teeth clenched. What are you trying to do, Gunman? Gunman glanced at him. Gyom turned to face him. What's that, Gunman? That's different from what you told me. Their eyes widened. He's clearly after you. He frowned. A top assassin being my subordinate, that's expecting too much. So the fact that this guy is a notorious bully in the area is also a lie. Gauman was silent, then laughed, obviously lying. Did our Guyom really long for those good memories from childhood? His eyes dimmed. Gauman said, you haven't forgotten how much fun you had playing with us, right? He turned around, feeling something hit the back of his neck. He was hit hard on the neck with a pipe. Does this remind you of that time? He widened his eyes, his body trembling. Gauman, why are you shaking like that? He gasped. Please, Gauman, stop. Tears streamed from the corners of his eyes, filled with guilt. Please, they dragged you into that dark room. His eyes gleamed as he smirked. What did you say? It's hard to hear from outside. Outside is a door covered in nails. Jiam, cowardly and scared, said, just take me out, please. He gave a twisted smile. Oh no, in his hand he tightly held a nail. No way, the fun is just beginning. Holding a hammer, he counted down Gauman 1, 2, 3. In that room, his legs wobbled with fear. He pressed Guillaume's face down onto the sharp nails. Remember now, his face showed satisfaction. He's trembling now, scared. Gauman held a handful of nails. Can you believe it? Seriously, is this bastard going to kill someone? He pressed his face onto the sharp nails. Now Guillaume gripped his wrist tightly. The nails scattered everywhere. They were surprised to see Guillaume push him. Want to see Guyen stared intently. Guillaume grabbed his collar, eyes cold as ice. The way I kill. The double ceiling lights turned on. Gauman was stunned by his resistance at this moment. So, do you want me to teach you? Majum grabbed his wrist. I'll teach you how to kill. They struggled, their arms trembling from the effort. The guard suddenly spoke. Hey, break time's over. Get back to your places. Got it. At that moment, Gauman pulled his hand away. Don't touch me. His buddies turned away, laughing in delight, clearly enjoying this. Gauman clicked his tongue and left with them, but kept looking back at his attitude. Seeing Majum kept working normally, he silently cursed the fool. They went back to their room to play games. Gummy spoke Jesus, and Buddha he asked, who do you think will win? The guy next to him answered first. Of course, Jesus, but the nailhead argued, hey, what do you know? Buddha's the winner. The other retorted, what, Jesus gave you a choco pie? The nailhead countered, Buddha gave you a burger. Probably just one issue causing them to argue fiercely, religious war. The fat guy with code 2.738 waved, let's go do some religious activities. Moving to cell 65, no one was inside. Juyeon and he each turned to a corner. He was silent, staring blankly, lost in thought. After a while, Juyeon broke the silence. Thanks, Magyum. I don't understand why you remember those you've beaten up. If you hadn't stopped me, I might have been stuck here for another 10 decades. Then he tilted his head and said, I wondered why you asked, why I stopped you. Why did you ask that? Duyong sincerely revealed, I have a reason to leave this place. He hesitated and told, the person who killed my friend. So Juyeon planned I have to meet him, my father. Majum felt suspicious, but Juyeon said, your father is in a vegetative state. He only vaguely replied. That's a long story. Still, Juyeon felt the need to express his thoughts. Going out, but I have to thank you for letting me leave quickly. Thank you so much. He frowned, looking at Juyijun thoughtfully. Then Majium spoke. Are you mocking me? How could you say that to someone sentenced to 25 years, Miss Juyeon? Realizing he had misspoken, he corrected himself. I didn't mean that, while also trying to show his sincerity, but I will repay you. Light from outside streamed through the high window into the room. After a moment of thought, he said, I understand. Scene shifts to the woodworking shop where prisoners work. The iron door was closed. The guard dropped the keys in front of Madyum. All right, here's the key. He placed his hands on his hips and ordered him, Sorry, Madyum, I suddenly have something to do at home. The guard hurried out the door while reminding him, Please clean the room for me. Good luck. Madyum obediently replied, Yes, I understand. He stayed alone, looking over a table full of tools. Madyum frowned when he saw a strange creature. It was lying still on that table, a caterpillar. It made him think only of Gulamim. Madyum's face turned extremely ugly. Once before, he had shown a butterfly to him. What do you think, Gulamim? Very surprised. Did you collect all of this? That's amazing. Back then, he was Yun Gulamim, 11 years old, a friend Madyum still remembered. He had said firmly, I don't like insects much because they look kind of gross, caterpillars or butterflies alike. Yun Gulamim just laughed happily and showed off more specimen boxes. Gulamim want to see more. He became cautious. What? To Madyum, Gulamim was his first friend until school started. Once the boys in class gathered to gossip, what's his name? Not Ian Gulamim. He looks kind of weird. He even heard them mock him. And he collects insects gross. An aggressive brown-haired boy came up to provoke, Hey, you planning to collect them to eat later, Gulamim? Confused, wanting to explain what no. Not like that. He ignored it as if he didn't hear. Right, you'll eat them for vitamins, right? Another gray-haired boy attacked, You're going to eat them, huh? Just then he appeared to defend him. Stop it. I know it's free time now, but go back to your seats. The brown-haired boy whispered, Hey, the class president is coming. He glanced warily like he was planning to give him more demerits or something. So they all left together. Sorry, class president, we were just joking. After they left, he asked Gulamim, Are you okay? He shyly waved his hand. Yeah, thanks. Gulamim suddenly frowned, then brightened up. Oh, right. Do you remember you said you'd come over to my house? Suddenly, that group of friends came back. We have a new game class president. When did everything change like this? Another day, the brown-haired boy invited, Should we have a soccer match with class 4 after school? But he skillfully declined. I already have plans today. The buzz-cut boy pressed, Hey, class president, how could you miss out? So Madyum accepted, All right. They cheered excitedly. The distance between them grew, and he didn't know when it started. Madyum once turned back to look at his friend. Gulamim had silently watched the one who defended him, but they were drifting apart. Until the next year, we were in different classes. After school, he stopped by to check. That's Gulamim's place. Is he home already? We played together less than before. Once Madyum overheard two parted hair boys talking. Hey, did you hear anything about Yun Gulamim? One recounted, Oh yeah, I heard he's a target of bullying. The other showed surprise, The boy with two-toned hair insisted, It's true, I saw him get beaten last time. While speaking, someone ran out to report, He's dead. Everyone, Yeonjun Gunmim has just been taken into the warehouse. He immediately ran off to find his friend Magyum, showing the long-suppressed anxiety clearly. After a while, he arrived panting from exhaustion, while Magyum pushed open the warehouse door but hadn't yet looked up. When he finally looked up and called out to Gunmim, Gunmim, the one not wearing a vest, glanced sideways. Oh, that loser. The slicked-back hair guy tilted his head with interest. Probably should we check it out? At that moment, Magyum suddenly heard that familiar voice. So you're here, Gunmim? Suddenly appearing behind him, I'm right behind you. With that, he pushed Magyum into the small cabinet quickly. He was stunned, unable to believe his friend would do such a thing. Gunmim tried to push the door open. What the hell are you doing? The guy pushed harder while cursing. Damn it, get in. Gunmim pushed with all his might. Get in quickly. After closing the door, he quickly locked it with a key. The slicked-back hair guy sneered mockingly. Wow, the bug collector actually succeeded. The other guy walking beside him added, I told you he was an idiot. Earlier, he had set a condition for Gunmim. If you want to join our gang, you have to give up your favorite insect and get rid of it. So Magyum had to bang on the door shouting, Let me out, Gunmim. What happened to you? Oh. He pressed his face against the cabinet. Wait a minute. Inside, Magyum heard them say, If we catch the insect now, While Gunmim is coming with the hammer, we have to crush it immediately. Recalling this moment, En's returning to the present, he suddenly came out and slammed his hand on the moth. But everyone only liked the butterfly and thought the moth was disgusting. Then Gunmim squeezed it tightly in his hand just like I am doing now, he said while crushing the moth into tiny pieces. Then Gunmim threw its fragments into the air. It's all your fault, Magium. Suddenly confused, Yun Gunmim, what the hell are you talking about? Why is it my fault? But he didn't believe it. Don't play dumb. His face grew serious as Gunmim poured out everything in his heart. You think I don't know? You're just pretending to be kind and playing the friend while slowly distancing yourself and betraying me, right? It turned out that when Magium made friends with others, Gunmim thought I knew. In your mind, I'm just a disgusting moth while you're a butterfly. Everyone likes, right? His face twisted. The day I realized that every passing day truly tormented me. Gunmim touched a piece of the moth's wings still stuck on his hand. You understand now you're the one who made me like this. He bit his lips, surprised that I thought he was the only one completely broken at that time. Gunmim clenched his fist tightly the moment I heard that you had killed 7 people. He smiled dangerously. I was nearly insane, but then Gunmim mocked that kind of karma. Magium trembled with anger. His fingers pressed so hard into his palm they bled. You mean that, right? His face showed a flash of shock when Magium exclaimed, because of you, I came here. He suddenly choked and couldn't continue. Seeing this, Gunmim became even more smug. It doesn't matter, your life is already shattered anyway. Suddenly, his gang held Magium tight, covering his mouth. And now you'll be crushed to dust. The bootlicker seemed to praise Gunmim. Since you tried to bribe manager Mesu, I knew you weren't ordinary. You're amazing, Gunmim. His eyes glowed with excitement. It's not over yet. Hearing this, Magium frowned, sensing something was wrong. After we collect the insects, a cabinet was brought in front of Magium. We have to peel them into humans. He shrank back, showing panic. Magium struggled to escape the crowd. Wait, but Gunmim didn't care because of you. He was still shoved into the cabinet despite holding the door tightly. It was all locked with a padlock and tied tightly with rope. It's all because of you. Magium angrily pressed his hands against the cabinet wall. Why did you do this to me? Suddenly, Magium noticed a strange object inside the cabinet. It was a gift I gave you, disgusting insects crawling all over him. Magium clamped his mouth shut, hearing Gunmim outside. So disgusting, they're your insect friends. Inside the cabinet was silent as if nothing had happened. His face twisted into a crooked smile. What do you think, Guillaume? You like twins, huh? But there was no sound in response. Guillaume pressed his ear against the cabinet. What? Why aren't you answering? I'm not scared of you, are you? He bit his lip and frowned. You're holding back. You're not screaming, huh? The long-haired guy marveled. Wow, look at how he's holding up against them. The white-haired guy also felt excited. He's pretty tough. The leader crossed his arms and questioned Ian Gunmim. Are you going to apologize to him or not? He's a murderer, you know. He muttered, a murderer. Still Gunmim continued to sneer. So what if he is? He lowered his eyes. You look scary, you bastard. Gulbin put her hands on her hips and gave the leader a look. It hasn't even started yet. The hatred surged within him. From now on, I'll make him scream until his throat tears. Suddenly, Yu Yong appeared, intervening in the fight. He put his hands in his pockets and asked, what do you plan to do? The leader charged aggressively. You're scaring me, you dog shit. The guy with the tied hair wondered why this guy was here. Du Yong opened his mouth and asked, what are you going to do? He shouted here. Then he snapped the white-haired guy's arm as fast as lightning. Like this, the guy went crazy and raised his fist. What the hell are you doing, you dog? Immediately, one cheek of the white-haired guy got intimately acquainted with Huyeon's shoe sole. Juyeon used all his strength to kick him flying into that cabinet. Or like this, he suppressed his displeasure, glaring at Juyeon through the gap in the cabinet door. He heard a voice call, Hey, Magium. He glanced through the small gap to check the situation. I will pay my debt. He twisted his hand and stared at Goldman and this guy. Meanwhile, the others in the room were all buzzing. Where is he? The whole group sat properly in the room chatting. Someone spoke up. Now that you mention it, I haven't seen Magium either. Another replied, the warden called him to the woodshop. Juyeon sat alone in the corner listening to the discussion. Suddenly, he was called to clean late at night like this. He seemed to have a bad feeling, so he quickly stood up. To the shock of the others, it's done. Juyeon approached the door just as a guard walked by. He hurriedly called the warden. The warden also turned and responded with a sound. The guard pushed his hat up and asked, "What's going on? It's you again." He remembered the pizza call earlier. When the crowd asked, he called for pizza again. "Forget it, let's have chicken this time." Juyeon calmly said, briefly, "Open the door." The crowd behind was completely shocked and exclaimed, "What?" Even the guard was equally surprised. He raised his face and asked again, What did you just say?" Back to reality, he opened his eyes slightly through the gap and whispered, "Hey, Magyam, to pay the debt." Juyun twisted his hand to get ready and looked at Magyam, continuing, "This time, let's call it a truce." The atmosphere in the room grew tenser and more dramatic. He still stood tall in the middle of the room, looking at the people lying sprawled on the ground. Suddenly, one guy asked, "Before you, was it Cha Juyeon?" He arrogantly continued, "That guy's been running wild lately." Nearby, Gulman seemed scared and gave a long hum. After a moment, he calmed himself and said calmly, "I wasn't sure when I was with Maruam just now, but now I get it." He curiously asked, "Are you two really close friends?" Gulman raised her hand, glanced at him and sighed. "Really, Magyam has a trustworthy friend." He continued, wishing he had a friend like that too. But the ringleader just laughed and said irritably, "Sounds annoying." He looked at Juyeon opposite him and sneered, "Cha Juyeon, you're too loyal. I like you already." Then he quickly jumped high, swung his fist toward him and asked, "Do you want to be friends with me too?" Duyong was no pushover either. He stomped hard and jumped up high. Not sure what happened next, but the ringleader was heard groaning embarrassedly. Turns out Juyeon quickly grabbed his neck and slammed him hard to the ground. He spun in the air and then fell heavily to the ground. At this moment, Juyeon just tossed his head and asked back, "You and I be friends?" He looked at him lying motionless on the floor and continued, "Better dead than that." After handling the ringleader, Juyeon turned his back and asked, "Why did you do that?" His cold eyes stared sharply at the person opposite. That was way too harsh criticism. But Gulman just barely opened his mouth to repeat too harsh. Then he immediately sneered and said, "Are you kidding me?" Right now, the only sound in the room was Gulman's voice, because of that traitor. "I have to live in pain, you know." He raised both hands and recounted everything with a tone of resentment, pretending to be my only childhood friend, pretending to care but secretly plotting behind my back. Gulman's eyes became dangerously terrifying, dragging me down like a snake trying to kill me. Then he looked toward kind Juyeon and warned, "So you should be careful when you're with him too." At the same time, while he was absorbed in listening to Gulman's story, the ringleader woke up and moved right behind Juyeon. Instantly, he squeezed his head tightly with frustration. "Too big, you think I'll let this go easily?" His hand tightened more and more around Juyeon's neck. He whispered this was all just to pave the way for this moment. And Juyeon was suffocating, his face turning red, grimacing and struggling. Gulman on the other side saw this scene and excitedly cheered, "Oh yeah, break his neck." The ringleader squeezed tightly while speaking. "So what do you want to be friends with me now?" Duyong gritted his teeth in pain, sweat pouring down, thinking the grip was no joke. He didn't want to break free this way. But Juyeon then strongly bent his finger, causing him to groan in pain and think, "You won't be able to use this finger anymore." But unexpectedly, at that moment, Gulman stabbed a knife into his stomach, his eyes red and full of murderous intent. Gulman laughed madly and said, "I have to do something too." Seeing this, he happily praised Gulman, "You bastard, you really are a good friend." Juyeon had to endure the pain from the knife wound and the suffocation from him, his face gradually turning purple as he thought he couldn't breathe. Suddenly, someone spoke up, breaking the tense atmosphere. "Hey, let go." Majim wrapped a chain around the ringleader's neck and said, "You're going to break his neck." Seeing this, Gulman suddenly startled and panicked. Thinking, Madame frowned and gritted his teeth, looking toward the cabinet, thinking silently, when did he get out? Gulman recalled earlier when Juyeon kicked the ringleader and accidentally fell against the cabinet. So that's it when the lock was broken. Thanks to his help, Juyeon quickly seized the opportunity to kick him hard in the face, causing Gulman to bleed from his nose. Juyeon looked at him lying on the floor and said with satisfaction, "One down." He glanced around and said, "That was close just now." Juyeon turned to look at Majim and the ringleader to assess the situation, but only saw him tangled in the chain, screaming in pain. He was shaking in agony, trembling in crazy pain. Then he tried using all his remaining strength to pull himself forward, damn it. He could only stumble forward. Seeing this, Gulman became cheerful, full of hope, cheering, "That's right, just keep pulling." But Majim gritted his teeth and said, "I told you he's nearly out of breath and you're using your strength." To Juyeon's astonishment, Majim shouted, "Break his neck." As soon as he finished, he kicked the ringleader hard in the head while pulling the chain strongly backward. After a struggle, his eyes rolled back, and he spit out a mouthful of blood. Majiam's grip was so strong that fresh blood ran along the chain and down onto his hand. At this point, Majiam angrily yelled, "Loosen your grip if you don't want to die." And finally, his body weakened until he lost all reason. Seeing the situation was bad, Majiam immediately released the chain, causing him to lose support and fall to the ground. It seemed Majiam was exhausted, standing there gasping for breath. Juyeon held the wound on his stomach and slowly walked over to where the ringleader lay on the other side. Majiam also cast a sharp, cold glance at Gulman, then stepped closer to him, making Gulman panic and step back, stammering, "Wait." He panicked, eyes wide, shouting desperately, "I'm the victim, and this only happened because of you." Gulman stubbornly shouted, "I was just defending myself. I did nothing wrong, damn it." But Majiam didn't care. He aimed a bullet-like glare at him, and seeing that look, Gulman suddenly became so terrified, he fell backward to the ground. Finally, he knows fear. Gulman immediately kneeled down, begging and apologizing. "I'm really sorry, please forgive me." Gulman held Majiam's leg and continued, "It was just a moment of foolishness on my part." Gumby looked up pleadingly with a very pitiful expression. "You know I'm a stupid failure, please. See this as the mistake of a fool and spare me this once." But what he got in response was just a blunt no. Majiam coldly looked down at him from above and replied indifferently, "I never thought you were like that." Hearing this, a sudden spark of hope flashed in Gumby's heart, and he exclaimed, "Huh." But then his voice rang out, "You gunmen, your selfish delusions have ruined my life. That's an unchangeable fact." Majiam looked at him kneeling at his feet and explained, "I've already killed 7 people, so I've also thought about how to deal with you." These words hit Gumby like a bucket of cold water, leaving him stunned and speechless. Then he turned away and said, "But thinking back now, I don't hate you that much anymore, because we used to be friends." Gumby was stunned for a long time and didn't know how to respond. Suddenly, old memories flooded back into his mind, recalling some unhappy times, my friend. Suddenly, Gunman's expression changed, filled with murderous intent. He laughed loudly, thinking to himself, "What nonsense, a foolish, naive guy. Soon enough, I definitely will." But before he could finish thinking, a foot was raised with the words, "I'm hurt here." Immediately after, unprepared gunmen took the blow and rolled on the ground several times, lying motionless. Juyeon, holding his wounded stomach, tightly stepped closer and said disdainfully, "This time consider it a draw." Hearing that, Majiam's eyes suddenly glistened with sadness as he called out, "Dad Juyeon." Not only that, he put a hand on his shoulder to comfort him, and suddenly the two sat down on the ground to rest. Juyeon called out in a voice that confused Majiam, then continued, "Are you an idiot?" Hearing this, he was even more confused and replied, "Why did you say that all of a sudden?" Juyeon turned his face away and analyzed a murderer who killed 7 people, is afraid of that weak guy. But Majiam immediately spoke up, "I'm not afraid of him." Then the two sat in silence for a long while. Then Juyeon smiled and said, "I know," which surprised Majiam for a moment. He turned and continued, "I don't understand what grudge you two have, but at least I see both of you, based on Juyeon's extra words, aren't enemies, right?" This made him a little stunned, not knowing how to respond. Thinking it through simply, Majiam just replied briefly and sharply, "What do you know?" Juyeon, holding his mouth wound, frowned in discomfort and said, "Why haven't you left yet?" Suddenly, his eyes widened in surprise when he heard his name called Dad Juyeon. Majiam seemed unaware of Juyeon's changed tone and happily smiled, saying thanks. He only smiled calmly and responded, "Why are you suddenly saying thanks?" Suddenly, Juyeon's eyes widened in shock as he heard some noise behind him. A stranger appeared sitting next to Gunman and shouting his name, "Gunman." He turned around, looking to see who the stranger was. He looked quite fierce, staring at him, and said in a low voice, "How dare you go without my permission? You know I'm very scared, right?" Meanwhile, Gunman was still in a daze, not fully conscious. Suddenly, he punched Gunman hard in the face and shouted, "Are you stuck here?" He continued loudly, "No one caught me. I almost died from fear." Then he kept beating him mercilessly. Witnessing this bloody and gruesome scene, Majiam and Juyeon were shocked and frozen. Gunman was beaten so badly it was like death and rebirth. Then he raised his hand to wipe his face and exclaimed, "Blood splattered all over my face." His eyes were bloodshot and terrifying. He kept wiping the blood off his face while yelling, "I hate filthy things full of germs." But suddenly, he grabbed Juyeon's collar, making Juyeon's eyes widen in surprise. It looked like he wanted to use Juyeon's shirt to wipe the blood off his face. Then he said something that Juyeon still didn't understand. At this moment, he looked up with a blood-streaked face and asked him, "Clean now?" Kang Zion held his shirt collar with a desperate look and replied, "I went. Is it clean now? At first, Julian still didn't understand what was happening. He observed his expression for a while. Is it clean now? His face was smeared and his eyes were full of confusion. When Julian answered, not yet, it's still very dirty. Majim frowned nervously because he was starting to get angry. What did you just say? Kang Jun seemed very distressed. Even his voice was trembling. Then he suddenly raised his hand to give Julian a dirty slap. At that moment, the warden appeared and shouted, if you've finished your work, hurry back to your cells. You hung your head low while he was yelling, what are you all gathering here for? The number on Julian's shirt was 7199. 7199. Kang Jun kept mumbling that number as if hypnotized. 7199, 7199, 7199, 7199. He pressed his face close to the nameplate on Julian's chest, 7199. Cut to the next morning, the inmates were taken outside to exercise. You felt a bit awkward. What's going on, everyone? Because now everyone in the room was gathered sitting with Julian. Why is everyone crowding around me like this? Nothing's going on. Naaman standing beside you laughed. You ask why? Because Julian here is gunman inmate of cell number 30. On the yard, others were buzzing. Isn't that the guy, the one who showed off at the training ground the other day? I heard he got beaten up. Rumor has it he's really strong. Naaman put his hands in his pockets, teasing Julian. If you're around me, no one would dare hit me, right? Majim had the same question, but even I was sighing deeply. Just do what you want, his eyes still fixed straight ahead. Just don't bother me. I have things to do. You wanted to find someone with a tattoo of a blue dragon surrounded by blazing red flowers, commonly known as a red flower dragon. He immediately ran off. I need to find the guy with that tattoo. Majim ran up the stairs and saw only 3 people chatting and laughing with some petty guys. Majim ran past the exercise yard and then questioned himself, where could that damn organization be? Naaman followed Julian's gaze with curiosity. By the way, what have you been looking at all this time? You're still sitting there persistently. I have something I need to find. Naaman then suggested, just tell me so I can find it. It doesn't quite look like it when you look at it, but I'm famous for knowing a lot of information. Julian listed the tattoo details intermittently. Naaman was stunned, wanting to ask again. The person you're looking for has an ugly tattoo. The sky had turned late afternoon as the common room played a news broadcast. The number of juvenile gang crimes has increased significantly. The inmates sat neatly watching. They formed groups with sophisticated systems to steal money and property. Someone suddenly doubted, is it true that the news plays every day? But others confirmed the news was based on real events. The broadcast continued reporting that violent acts and serious crimes among students never disappear. Du Yong suddenly spoke up. Pathetic scum, you keep criticizing those damn criminals. They deserve to rot in jail. They silently thought, why say such harsh words? Tren Nammin explained, not everyone here is bad, you know. Nammin leaned against the wall, smiling. Let me tell you. Nammin calmly shared his story. Why am I here? The story began with a pan of rice cakes. Once upon a time, there was a legendary tteokbokki shop in my neighborhood. You see, over time, I became a regular customer there. The chewy texture of the tteokbokki and the perfect blend of spices were always on another level. But one day a gang led by a madman, the son of a local politician, a thug who relied on his father's influence, appeared. Auntie, give me another serving of tteokbokki. When the food was served, he slammed down on the plate and suddenly cursed, damn it, are you kidding me? His face darkened as he skewered a piece of rice cake. This is made from rice cakes. At that mention, Naaman had to scold that crazy bastard again. They shouted, don't you know what kind of rice the original tteokbokki is made from? He started smashing the whole shop, even knocking over the family photo. But at that moment, you suddenly blocked a strike. I appeared. Naaman introduced himself. The leader of the tteokbokki fan club has arrived. After dealing with all of them, you grabbed your coat and left. The battle ended with my legendary victory. I became the homeless hero who protected the tteokbokki shop. Back to the present. Naaman held his head in frustration, but in the end, I'm here because that bastard used the influence of his father, a member of parliament. Still, he thought, but I don't regret anything. The guy with number 7152. Sen, are you lying again? He then revealed Yu Yong. Do you know Garaman's nickname? The black-haired guy next to him interrupted because he lies so much they call him Garaman. A pun combining his name with Gu, meaning lie. Number 7152 also said, I heard he was caught lying in the prison cell before. He still hasn't stopped that habit, huh? Naaman forced a smile and explained, what are you all talking about? All my stories are based on real events. Du Yong quietly listened to their argument. All fiction. Now, even if I died, I wouldn't believe that. Suddenly, he spoke up, but it doesn't sound much like a lie. Naaman was stunned, staring at Juyeon. What science has studied aphids that produce sugar for ants, and ants protect aphids. They support each other. It's like my relationship with those scoundrels. Naaman closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Taken in those scoundrels. I can tell them I've lived like this my whole life. Juhyun spoke firmly. There are no lies in that room here. Naaman got a bit emotional, Juhyun. You want to plant a flower, you like something that can express everything there. Imagining that he smiled to himself, if I could become Juhyun's right-hand man, everything would be easier. In the morning, the inmates were tending the flower beds. Finally, spring has arrived. Could the spring filled with floral scents be coming for me as well? Naaman became happy to care for the flowers with his own hands. Unfortunately, he accidentally flicked dirt onto Kangjoon's face. He quickly wiped a speck off his face, panicking. Kangjoon frowned and questioned, "What are you doing?" Naaman realized how serious it was, and his face paled. Kangjoon showed displeasure that smells awful. The obsession returned, making his limbs weak. It's because of your lies, because you're filthy. Naaman had once been forced to drink bleach until foaming at the mouth. The filthy mouth, the one who caused it, was him. Let me clean it for you right now. Kang Zion appeared at that spot angry. We met this as my old room leader. He kept scratching his face, shouting germs and bacteria are all over my face. I feel like my face is rotting inside. Kang Zion is a crazy demon with psychological issues. He felt confused. Why is he here? I'm sorry, I can't see clearly in front of me. His eyes burned with anger. Can you clean it? Naaman cursed internally. Damn it, but outwardly begged, yes, I'll clean it thoroughly for you. This bastard is a clean freak addict. Kangjoon brought out a large pesticide spray. Really yet, he sprayed it straight into Naaman's face. Let me clean you up first. Naaman screamed in pain, tears streaming, pounding the ground and yelling, my eyes, my eyes. Kangjoon said, actually, I'm here to ask you something. The familiar number came from his mouth, 7199. Naaman felt his ears ringing, 7199, 7199, 7199, 7199. Seems like Kang Zion has some scheme. Wasn't he sharing a room with you? Hearing this, he thought, if it's 7199, then clearly that's not Juyeon's number, right? Suddenly he roared, he dares call me dirty. He dares call me dirty. A distressed Kangjoon held his face barely standing. I tried hard to stay clean. You know that, right? Naaman stammered in agreement, yes. Tears still continuously flowed down his face. Hearing Kangjoon insist, then let's go together. He unbuttoned his shirt, holding a bottle of pesticide. Let's show him how we disinfect and clean. On Kangjoon's chest was the image Jongyeon had been searching for a long time. Cut to Jongyeon's cell, he is doing one-arm push-ups, panting hard, counting 95, 96, 97, but in Jongyeon's mind, he's still wondering exactly where he saw it. It was the image of a bright-eyed blue dragon as the background for the word heaven. That damn tattoo. Inside, he hypothesizes if he meets him again, it would be crazy. After a while, Naaman arrives. How does he have such a fit body and such a neat lifestyle? Do you work out outside, Nam? In brings a glass of water. All right, now let's make a glass of grape juice, Juyeon. Very cautious, why all of a sudden, Naaman grabs any excuse saying isn't making a glass of grape juice after hard training. Great. Only then do you stand up. Let me drink it. When Juyeon saw the shimmering purple drink, he was very shocked because it was so unexpected. That's the liquid from the pesticide bottle. Who gave it to you? Juyeon exposes why the drink is the color of the pesticide bottle. Inside a room, continuous muffled cries keep echoing. Naaman is held tightly by other prisoners, a funnel stuffed in his mouth. He keeps yelling, but in vain. Someone questions angrily, why did you do that? Kangjoon's eyes flash with anger. He grits his teeth at your lies. Kangjoon raises his hand to his forehead, growling that now he's filthy. He can't contain his rage and keeps screaming. That mouth of yours makes me filthy. I need to clean it. Naaman's face is full of fear, but he can't say a word. Kang Seong-yoon, furious, holds a bottle of pesticide to disinfect it. This terrifies him. Shortly after, the pesticide bottle falls and rolls on the floor. Drops of the chemical spill everywhere. Naaman recalls all those terrible moments. The first room I entered, and Kangjoon continues to lose his mind. He holds his head with both hands. What to do now? On the floor lies Namjin, motionless, eyes glazed over, foam at his mouth. Maybe he was tortured with pesticide. That memory is forever etched in Namjin's mind. That place was hell. And Kangjoon, with his fear of dirt, keeps mumbling, the floor is dirty, and meticulously wipes the stains. Despite Naaman's condition, he feels immense pain and suffering because a demon lived there. Suddenly, a shout echoes. It pulls Naaman back to the present. Juyeon looks toward the pesticide bottle on the nearby shelf. This thing is in the glass of water Naaman gave him. His face is terrifying. Who gave that to you? Namin, though hit hard by the accusation, still firmly shakes his head, denying it. Gave it to me. What do you mean I bought it with my own money? Of course. Inside, he's very scared. Damn. The others in the room see this and pour fuel on the fire. Suspicious. Isn't there something in that bottle? You drink first, Juyeon, he demands with a sharp gaze. Why are you suddenly giving me this? Namin nervously sweats. Could it be that Juyeon is starting to suspect him? Then he suddenly thinks it makes sense considering his usual image. Namin remembers when people mocked him for lying, calling him by the not-so-flattering name Ra Namin. He recalls being caught lying in the past and getting beaten. Namin feels deeply sad recalling that just naturally. But what surprises him even more is that Juyeon raised the glass to his lips, ready to drink. He drinks the whole glass in one gulp under Namin's anxious gaze. After finishing, Juyeon wipes his mouth lightly with his hand. He nods slightly in approval. It's pretty good, thanks. Then he turns around. Tomorrow is collective cleaning day. Everyone get ready. Leaving Namin's bewildered look and the admiration of the others in the room. So strong. Seeing what just happened right before Namin's eyes was truly surprising. Damn, he felt deeply regretful. If I had known he would drink it all, I would have put it in the juice glass instead of just tasting it. Namin recalled the words Juyeon had said before. It's more like science fiction. I wouldn't believe it even if I died. But I don't think he's lying. His pupils shrank, damn it. It's almost bedtime. Everyone in the room was preparing blankets and pillows. Someone was busily working on a painting and seemed to be writing on it a dragon drawn in blue ink surrounded by red ink petals. In the center was a circle containing the character Heaven. Namin sat beside Juyeon, who was painting, and started a conversation. What is this cute painting? He thought to himself that he should take advantage of this opportunity. After a moment of thought, Juyeon answered Red Flower Dragon. It's a blue dragon among red flowers. Namin was still lost in thought. Maybe I can tell these guys that I was the one who drugged him, then analyze Juyeon's behavior to figure out how to respond. Listening to Juyeon's words, I will find all these bastards with tattoos. Suddenly fear turned his face pale as Nam, in search for a way to drug him without anyone knowing. I have to find the safest way. Jumin, perceptive, asked if he had something to say to him. Namjin scratched his chin. Well, actually, I've been curious for a while. He continued, Jumin, why do you trust me? Even Namjin couldn't believe what he had just said. What the hell, keep talking. You should be suspicious of liars like me first. Trusting others carelessly will get you into trouble. Namin was puzzled by his own words. What am I spouting? Juyeon pondered for a moment and then answered, good at deceiving of others. I think you're pretty smart. Juyeon didn't take his eyes off the painting of such an intelligent person. Then he calmly continued, those stupid lies won't make me your enemy, will they? Hearing this, Namin's eyes widened and his mouth dropped open. Then Juyeon stood up and turned away. Everyone, I'm turning off the lights now. He didn't forget to tell Nam, and you should go to bed early too. Namin sat still confused. Namian looked at the painting on the floor and his lips slightly curled up, a brilliant, intelligent person. The next day quickly arrived and the warden reminded the prisoners that the Ministry of Justice was coming to conduct an investigation. Today, everything must be cleaned as thoroughly as possible. The prisoners responded, yes, sir, and each took a task cleaning the restrooms. A harsh scolding was heard. You said you would do it. Namin's pale face was being scolded. You promised me you said you would disinfect him. You said you would do it. Kang Jiyeon angrily questioned. Now you're backing out. Namin now regretted, maybe I shouldn't have said that. He trembled as he explained, I asked Juyeon, and he really regretted calling you dirty. I mean, that word was a bit too much. Namin gathered courage and looked up. He's a bit introverted, so he asked me to apologize on his behalf. But Kang Jun's face darkened, his eyes glaring. Damn liar. He threw a powerful punch into Namin's stomach and shouted angrily, lying. Namin was punched, painfully thrown back and slammed into the wall. Kang Zion kept mumbling, I can't forgive you. He shouted angrily, I will never forgive you. Then he kicked Namin. Namin was in great pain but couldn't fight back. Kang Zion stomped on his head. That's right. He opened a bottle of disinfectant. I'm gonna have to. Kang Zion threatened in a terrifying tone, disinfect both of you. He poured the solution into the toilet and then stomped hard on Namin's head. Namin was pushed into the liquid, unable to breathe. Emergency. Namin is extremely worried I'm about to die. Kang Jun doesn't stop his torturous actions, making Namin struggle to breathe. His thought appears, damn it, I'm really about to die. But suddenly, Duyeon appears and questions, what are you doing in the bathroom? He hit Kang Jun's sore spot. That dirty, it made him furious. He looked straight at Kang Jun. You're so filthy. Naiman saw him and struggled to shout, Zhongyan. He questioned with a distressed face, why did you come late? Flashback to when Zhongyan was sweeping Naiman approached and said, I have to tell you something. He replied, what is it? Suddenly Naiman held a bottle of pesticide and explained, someone threatened me, they forced me to give you pesticide. Julian was surprised, what? He continued firmly, but I am Gunaman, born in this world as a man. Naiman opened the pesticide bottle and poured it out in front of Julian. I can't betray a close friend. I won't give in to threats like this. After pouring out the pesticide inside, he threw away the bottle, his face calm, despite the harsh consequences. I'm going to refuse right now. Then Naiman added, I almost forgot to tell you. He turned around smirking at the tattoo he had drawn, one of the chains breaking the heart. Naiman said, I think it might be on the person who threatened me. This surprised Julian greatly. Then he turned away proudly. Julian, as he said, I'm a smart guy. Back to the present, Julian waved his hand that was now covered in blood. Kangjun looked back with bloodshot eyes. Duyun wiped his hands with Kangjun's shirt. Being too smart is also a problem. Kangjun went crazy angrily, shouting, You filthy bastard. I'll kill you from your esophagus to your stomach. I'll wipe you clean. I'll melt everything inside you. But Kangjun was grabbed by the collar and pushed down. Too noisy. At the moment he fell, a bright golden light flashed. Kangjun bruised all over. Is that you, Juyeon? Proudly thinking, found you. He got furious, the guy who threatened to kill me. Wuyan couldn't hold back his anger even in his thoughts. That shitty tattoo. Naiman beside him exclaimed, so lucky. Jian cracked his knuckles to get started. Now I can beat you to a pulp. His face looked terrifying without any guilt. Moments from the past gradually appeared, starting with a martial arts match, a very promising martial arts star. The black-haired wrestler happily shouted his favorite move, but suddenly a pair of legs tightly locked him. It was a leg lock squeezing the opponent's stomach until it almost burst. The next scene showed a man using all his strength to grab the black-haired wrestler's arm tightly. But actually, the move he used most was dirty fighting, blocking the opponent's arms. The person mentioned was none other than Kang Zion. He used his legs and arms to restrain the opponent, giving them no chance to resist or surrender. When Kangjun smiled wildly, his eyes shining with a haunting red glow. The black-haired man's face turned pale as he screamed in pain. But after that day, moments later, Kangjun's eyes widened, his pupils shrinking, revealing shock and horror on his face speckled with droplets of liquid. It turned out the opponent couldn't hold back and vomited on Kangjun, disgusted him so much he shouted loudly. No one ever saw him do that again. The star on the development stage had a reputation for dirty fighting. Meanwhile, Kang Zion kept yelling, so dirty, really dirty. His hands never stopped wiping every corner with a cloth. A fatal weakness for a wrestler like him. Kang Zion held a mouth disinfectant spray in one hand, muttering, dirty, so dirty. Many times he witnessed everything and concluded he had mysophobia. Back to reality, Juyeon looked at Kang Zion lying on the ground and said, hey, you germaphobe. Seeing no answer, he questioned, are you just going to take it without replying to me, Du-yong? A terrifying, face eyes wide open, saying, I know more about Thien Long. But his reply was just unpleasant words, too dirty, the bathroom floor is full of bacteria. Kang Zion's cleanliness obsession made him lose control and angrily try to punch back. Zhueyong, my skin is rotting off, damn your face, Kang Zion shouted in anger. Salmonella infection, Pseudomonas aeruginosa, Staphylococcus aureus. But Zhueyong reacted very quickly, using his hands to strike back repeatedly. He got to that point, Zhueyong angrily slapped Kang Zion's face, and you're still worried about that. The mushroom haircut guy was in some bathroom stall, peeking through the door crack, whispering to himself that the guy was hitting him like swatting flies. Luckily, I'm on Yu-yong's side. Even though just beaten badly, Kang Zion didn't stop but kept mumbling, 7199, 7199, I will kill you. Zhueyong felt he was really stubborn. Seems like you still don't get it, huh? He reached into the dirty water nearby. I hate this place too. It's filthy, but with those fierce eyes, I guess I have to use shock therapy. He brought his hand close. Kangjon opened his mouth. He was so disgusted, his eyes widened to the max. Memories flashed again. Kangjon looked at his body. He was sweating a lot. He opened the locker room door. If he didn't wash quickly, then... The moment the door opened, a pile of various trash spilled down, making him scream in disgust. Kangjun went crazy, eyes wide open, yelling, it's trash! Didn't notice he was approached from behind, introducing himself. The man in black clothes who wrestled Kangjun down was the one who lost in the previous wrestling match. He snapped, people say you're so afraid of dirt, you can't wrestle anymore. The man looked down at Kang Jun with contempt. You couldn't free yourself just now. That must be true, he questioned. Do you know how embarrassed I was after throwing up in the ring? He angrily crumpled the paper in his hand. This dirty, cheating bastard. The black-haired man held Kang Jun's mouth with one hand, the other clenched the crumpled paper. Opening his mouth, I'll shove this down your throat. Looking at the dirty, crumpled paper, Kang Jun's cleanliness obsession made him bleed from the gums. The dirtiness in his mind seemed out of control, anyone who dirtied him. Not sure exactly what happened. But the man in black showed surprise. The same was happening to Yu Yeon at that moment. He opened his eyes wide, pupils shrinking. Kang Zion's mind filled with anger. Anyone who dirties me, suddenly empowered one hand held Yu Yeon tightly. Anyone who dirties me. Then Kang Zion used all his strength to reverse the situation, pinning Yu Yeon down and holding both his hands. He exploded, I'll beat you to pieces. Then Kang Jun clamped his legs tightly around Yu Yeon. At this moment, he was in pain, gritting his teeth, sweating. He crazily said, All right, if I squeeze your belly until it bursts now. The pain from the leg clamp made Yu Yeon suffer greatly, unable to fight back, because his hands were locked so tightly they trembled. The mushroom haircut guy was very surprised to see the situation suddenly reversed. Worried Yu Yeon, panicking, not knowing what to do. Should I help him? I help. If this keeps up, Guion will. But shortly after, he was surprised again, eyes wide open in shock. Du-yong, in pain, still insisted. This reminds me of the old days. He remembered his father when he was a boy. Memories of being choked by his father so tightly he could barely breathe. Never once was I hugged by him. Gangyong used considerable strength to choke his son, but at least when teaching me to fight, he would hug me tight enough to break my bones. Jo-yong suddenly counterattacked, both hands gripping Kang-yong tightly, really locking him down. Truly a disgusting memory. Jo-yong continued speaking while Kang Zion was in terrible pain, his whole body trembling, but thanks to that, he could fight on cold ground with me. He continued in a calm tone, as easy as peeing. At this moment, Kang Zion's body was bent so much that waves of pain spread from behind. He was held so tight he gritted his teeth in pain. Du-yong with a challenging tone, Will I explode before you break his two arms right after I finish speaking? Or will your spine break first? Next, you bend his body so his spine can't take it and breaks in just a short moment. Kang Jun endured continuous waves of pain that he couldn't bear, screaming out in extreme agony, tears streaming uncontrollably. Jueon just gave Kang Jun a puzzled look when he saw his trembling hands raised to fight back and simply replied, You quit, so I let you go. Then Jueon gave a meaningful smile. He spoke, No one ever taught me that. Hearing this, Kang Jun's face turned terribly ugly, his eyes wide with fear. In the bathroom, his painful screams kept coming. Outside, the guards urged the prisoners to clean every corner thoroughly. They responded, Yes, sir. Back in the men's restroom, Kang Jun's bruised face was forced to hold a funnel in his mouth. He was tied up. Nanbin adjusted the position of the funnel and sat still. He watched Kang Jun keep screaming. Joang resisted fiercely. Why does this guy seem like he doesn't understand human language? Naaman turned to Joang and said, Maybe the shock treatment wasn't enough. Maybe we really have to do it. Hearing this, he ran his hand through his hair and sighed. He placed his hand on the back of his pants, preparing to pull him down. He didn't want to, but Juyong ignored Kang Zion's trembling and continued, Among the things we can do. Then he looked straight at his face. This one's probably the most shocking. Naaman held Kang Zion tightly. He kept screaming loudly. Naaman leaned close to him. Come on, open your mouth. Full of lemon juice. Juyong said calmly, I wonder what it tastes like. Kang Zion was so scared and disgusted that tears began to flow. He screamed even louder. Then Naaman took the funnel out of his mouth. Jion answered seriously this time. He stared at Kang Jon with a bullet-like gaze and a face full of killing intent, saying, I know everything you know about Thien Long. A voice echoed in Kang Zion's memory. The tattoo was created by piercing needles under the skin and injecting ink. A person holding a tattoo needle said, New guy, I heard you're afraid of germs, right? Don't worry, this one's very clean. A brown-haired woman with a sexy face and tattoos named Hee-won continued, I'll draw something beautiful for you. Then she resumed tattooing Kang Ji-yeon's body. Shik Hua-lung Hye-won asked, Do you know why such a big organization, Mapakosh, still accepts a weakling like you? I'll explain. The dragon is a symbol of strength and power. The flower represents vitality and life, Hye-won continued. But no matter how beautiful a flower blooms one day, it will wither. Thien Long is looking for a seed that will sprout in the next generation. Many cases are selected into Thien Long. The weaker young people have potential that adults do not, he one added. Depending on their environment and experiences, their development potential is huge. Those who sit in the position are the targeted ones, she said. We recruit talents early to nurture and train them in the organization's garden. Hye-won believes these seeds grown this way will bloom like the flowers of Thien Long. Then Kang Zion returned to the present. He shouted loudly, I know that I'm just a low-level member of the organization. Kang Zion pleaded, let me go. Du-yong seemed to understand somewhat. So that's why his memories went back to the old days. Yu-yin couldn't forget the image of his father always shouting, do it again. When he fell, he only got one sentence in return, do it again. Juyin recalled that old man my father taught me from a young age. He painfully fell after failures and kept hearing do it again. Juyon believed that through hellish training, he fell so many times his whole body was bruised. His face also had many wounds. Juyon couldn't help but feel angry remembering to make me bloom faster than anyone else. Naaman called Juyin confusedly. Kang Jun interrupted, but he wondered why are you asking about the organization? Could it be Kang Zion asked, you want to join Thien Long too? Zuyong's eyes widened, what he confidently dared to challenge Thien Long. So that's why you stopped me. If you still want to treat me well, Kang Zion continues, maybe I'll recommend you to Thien Long. He sneers upon hearing that. Jueyong strikes his neck. Kang Zion painfully asks why. Why all of a sudden, he can't hold back and shouts, I've said everything already. He ignores him. One hand grabs Kang Zion's neck, the other prepares to punch shut up. Jueyong puts force into his hand. This punch is because he won't back down and throws a thunderous punch at him. I'm pissed now, scene changes. Outside in the hallway, prisoners are still diligently sweeping under the warden's urging. Now clean up. They respond, yes, Yu Yong is now wearing gloves and scrubbing the floor with a cloth. It won't come off. He turns around and says bleach. Behind him, Namin is kneeling holding a bottle of bleach respectfully for him. Juyun wonders what's wrong with you. Naaman replies, thank you. Juyeon is a bit surprised. Naaman happily says, thanks to you killing that OCD bastard, I can finally sleep well from now on. But he replies, I didn't kill him. Jueyong looks at the bleach bottle in his hand, also recalling what he said in the cell earlier. Jueyong asks, have you ever been tortured with bleach water? Jueyong wonders, usually people tortured like that die, but you survived. Naaman responds, you know that very well. Usually people tortured like that foam at the mouth, but Naaman is very smart and seemed to have planned ahead. So I pretended it was fabric softener water. He proudly says, actually, I lied because I wanted to be moved to another cell, so I arranged it all in advance. Naaman can't help but feel scared thinking about how crazy that bastard was. I was terrified. Yes, Juyeon replies, no need to thank me anyway because you helped me find the tattoo. Hearing that he replies, yes, Naaman wonders. I heard you were looking for a tattoo of a scary organization called Thien Long before. Why are you looking for it? The surrounding scene seems very quiet, but Juyeon's words seem to break all that peace. I intend to kill them. Naaman asks what's going on, Juyeon. Juyeong says, I've caught 2 of them now, but I'll soon find the rest. Naaman is a bit vague. There are many people with tattoos in the juvenile detention, so you want to know if they have something in common. After thinking for a while, Jueyong replies, thinking back, you made a conclusion. Both I took down are chiefs. Duyong thinks, got it. I'll keep an eye on those chiefs. Naaman says again, you don't need to do that. You just announced there will be a chiefs meeting next week. Juyeon is surprised hearing Namin because that day is the meeting day. He asks again, meeting day, Naaman is surprised you don't know. He adds every quarter the chiefs from each area gather to strengthen relationships. That's just the surface reason. Naaman adds the reality they discuss upcoming illegal businesses in prison. He suddenly makes a threatening, scary face. It's called a criminal syndicate. Jeon says, shut up, Naaman continues. All right, if you go there, all the chiefs will be there. He puts his hand on Juyeon's shoulder, advising you have to be careful. You haven't forgotten, right? Naaman's face is serious. Juvenile criminals from all over the country are concentrated here. He continues, plus there's a very dangerous one, so never reveal yourself. Juvenile Detention Center Chiefs meeting day. A slightly curly white-haired man with number 521 named Ziju speaks up Park Yong-chan, and that OCD bastard both defeated already. Another man with a dragon tattoo on his neck stands there listening. And I heard the one who made them like that is a guy named Cha Ju-yong Seru. I'm really curious, that man with the Do Hwan tattoo is similar, and so am I. Another man, number 8356, with slicked back hair angrily shouts, get lost. We have to beat him like a dog to teach him a lesson. Another man with koi fish tattoos on both arms reading a book replies, brother, calm down. The Lord favors peace. Just after he finished speaking, the door behind slowly opened and someone stepped out, immediately grabbing the shovel beside him. It turns out finding you guys was this easy. That person was none other than Juyeon, who coldly broke the shovel in half with an indifferent gaze. I really was looking for trouble for nothing. Then Juyeon threw the shovel head far away at great speed. Duhorn, wearing a cloak, was sitting in a conspicuous spot in the room. Juyeon's appearance caught everyone's attention. All eyes turned toward him. Duhorn spoke up. "What is this kid doing here?" Juyeon took the sharp wooden handle from the broken shovel and approached, placing his hand on his head. "I will," he declared with a serious tone, mixed with a hint of challenge. "Take care of all of you." The prison space was filled with dust and prisoners working non-stop. No one dared to slack off under the watchful eyes of the guards. Shouts and reprimands echoed amid the sweltering midday heat. "Hurry up, work as hard as you can digging." In another hidden corner, 3 people huddled together as if discussing a very important plan. Maggie listened carefully. "Today is our beloved Juyoung's day to attend the foreman's meeting. Let's hear some encouraging words." The other 2, hearing the mushroom-headed guy babbling about some meeting, looked confused. "I'm not sure what it is either," the mushroom-headed guy chuckled. "Let me explain." The blue sky and drifting clouds, he began to share his knowledge. The foreman's meeting is an exchange among foremen approved directly by the department director, a dangerous place for sharing information and illegal deals. You've seen it a lot in movies, right? They're not just local thugs. I heard the scale can rival major criminal organizations. Maggie turned to Cha Juyoung. "Have fun at school, be careful, and enjoy your studies." Mushroom Head messaged, "Is that all you've got to say? Say something more sincere. Anyway, that place is full of dangerous people, so don't cause trouble no matter what." Cha Juyoung clenched the shovel tightly, his eyes firm yet thoughtful, looks like the meeting has started. Gusa, Ju Choi Yun Tik, and the necessary people are all present. "What did you say about the seed?" Everyone was eager for an answer. Cha Juyoung's voice rose. "I'll dry it out in a flash." He grabbed the broken shovel handle, the jagged sharp wood capable of killing, and lunged at Park Do-hwan, pressing all those damn seeds to his neck. Before the eyes of those wanting to show off, Cha Juyoung seemed unafraid. "What are you standing there for? Get in here, Park." Do-hwan suddenly chuckled lightly. He wasn't afraid of the sharp object trying to end him, not even surprised by Cha Juyoung. He explained his knowledge. "The foreman can use violence under the pretext of maintaining order. It seems you acted that way because of that law, but you forgot the most important thing." Park Do-hwan began, sending a message to Cha Juyoung. "Recall previous fights in recent matches with the 3 foremen. You defeated. It seems a reasonable excuse is needed for those fights to be approved." The smile on Park Do-hwan's lips grew clearer, as if grasping the key point, commonly called a legitimate reason understood. He glanced up at him, still lost in thought. "So a pointless and meaningless fight like this has no legitimate reason for me to respond. Yet if you recklessly throw punches, disturbing the prison order, the other foreman won't let you escape unscathed. This is a warning and threat ordering you to stop this foolish act." Park Do-hwan laughed loudly. "So are you still planning to stab me?" The battlefield showed he was surrounded in a dangerous circle. Cha Juyoung began pondering his words. "If I act recklessly, I'll become the target of the other foreman. Is that it?" He looked at the others. Coincidentally, this situation matched his wishes. "Just as I expected, if I turn everyone in this prison against me, the chance of escaping unscathed while controlling this place is very slim. This method is very risky." Cha Juyoung released Park Jo-hoon and took back the shovel in his hand. "But luckily, I have already confirmed it." Park Jo-hoon leaned close to his ear and whispered, "Is this ridiculous joke over yet? You never intended to stab me from the start, right? From your actions, it seems you have some grudge against the Enlong. He brushed past you, leaving a few contemptuous words about your prank and private agenda. You really don't know your place, do you? Pathetic." The chaos slowly subsided, restoring quiet and a somber atmosphere. The meeting host was a young man with glasses that made him look more intellectual. "Now let's start the meeting of the department heads." Around him were other department heads, each choosing a corner to join. First, unfortunately, a few people were absent. He began listing the faces that couldn't attend the meeting. Kim Sung-ho, head of Cell Block 65. Bak Yong-chan, head of Cell Block 7. Kang Jin, head of Cell Block 2. All of them were absent due to injuries. Joseph Nam-gon clasped his hands together. "Oh man, how pathetic." The host said the cause of these incidents was still believed to be Cha Juyoung, the new head of Cell Block 36. All eyes turned to you, the one who got into a fight with the 3 absent heads today. That guy from the rumors, he's pretty handsome. Which gang does he belong to?" Cha Juyoung surveyed the group. About 15 department heads gathered here. Looking around, I don't see anyone with the Thean Long Gang tattoo. His gaze stopped on Park Do-hwan except for that guy. The host spoke, Cha Ju-young, do you want to say anything now that you're the new department head? Cha Ju-young looked bored with the question and spoke arrogantly, as if provoking the other heads. Is being a department head such a big deal? Choi Yoon-taek, standing nearby, wasn't pleased hearing those words. But Cha Ju-young said, I'm really looking forward to what's to come. Choi Yoon-taek crushed the glass in his hand. Damn rude bastard. The host cut through the tense atmosphere. Okay, moving on to the second issue. Income sources managed by the department heads in prison are also called stores. A portion of the profits from these stores is paid to the prison director. The host's gaze turned to one man who hadn't paid his tribute this quarter. That was Park Do-hwan's casino. He snorted mockingly in response. Darling, there's been a little mix-up with my portion. We guarantee to pay it all by the end of today. The host adjusted his glasses. Thank you for confirming. Suddenly, someone spoke up, by the way. There's a strange rumor going around that all the high-stakes games in the casino are based on trust and fairness. But it's all a scam. Just as that question hung in the air, Gu Seju stepped in front of Park Do-hwan. Calmly, he replied, everyone knows what happens if you get caught doing that here. But there's no way I would do that. If there really was cheating in my casino, Cha Ju-young had been silently listening to the meeting all along. He had no opinion on Park Do-hwan's attitude. He was simply observing. Park Do-hwan lightly dropped a final line on the matter. Just come and take my head then. The meeting continued. The host wanted to move on to another topic regarding cigarette distribution in Zone 2. The night was quiet. A breeze inside the house carried the sound of pleading, please don't do this anymore. Isn't it enough already? A metal barrel burning with flames, no more please. A man was tearing his hair out. I got scammed. In front of him were 2 cards just laid down. Another person said, wow, with such bad cards, I still won. The other guy shouted angrily, damn it, I'll win it back next round. Another laughed mockingly. Keep going and you'll be broke soon. Ha. He kept shouting, bring more chips here. This place is called the casino. The location is the auto repair shop in the vocational training center. This man is John Ho, the dealer at the casino. First time at the casino. The games here are simpler than other usual gambling houses. The casino floor isn't large. Each gambling table offers a different type of bet. John Ho said each table plays a different game, but since this is your first time, I'll introduce the simplest game. Dice game. John Ho seems really excited, as if this is an exciting game where you can win a great prize. It must be fun. The person sitting in front of John Ho has been silent since then, only now letting out a quiet laugh. None other than Cha Ju-young, really. Should I take a turn? Dice game. You suddenly remember the conversation with Park Do-hwan. If it drags on, it won't be fun anymore. You said I'd get beaten up if I keep pushing. You don't have a valid reason, right? Cha Ju-young glanced at Park Do-hwan, sitting quite far away. But that also means the opposite if I have a valid reason. You recall what he said in the meeting, if there's really cheating in my casino, just come and take my head. In front of everyone, Cha Ju-young slammed his fist down on the ground. Whether it's punching you to bits or chopping your head off, we can choose whichever we want. John Ho, startled by the fan, quickly dodged Cha Ju-young's fist. What are you doing? Cha Ju-young spoke up. See, there's a magnet inside the dice. On the mat, the dice had a broken corner from impact, revealing the magnet attached inside. These bastards are all cheaters. The bright sunlight shines on the juvenile reform facility standing proudly under this country's sun. The Juvenile Detention Center operates with the purpose of reforming juvenile offenders under strict supervision and management. Night falls like a symbol of the darkness and corruption behind the name of this detention center. That's what outsiders know. In a room, those supposedly in power are still sipping premium coffee. Gun Trang-seok, the 26th director of the Juvenile Detention Center, his sharp features and relaxed demeanor hide what he has really done. Since he started working here, this place has turned into a den of criminals where illegal activities run rampant. Inside the prison, most profits come from prisoners acting as heads of departments to earn money. He profits both in the shadows and in the light. Usually these profits are called shops. Part of the profits are shared with the guards. In return, the heads of departments receive privileges and freedoms that no ordinary prisoner could ever dream of. The prison corridor is bleak and desolate, representing the coldness of human hearts. The director's room empty except for one figure, sunlight illuminating half the room, as if symbolizing the light and darkness this detention center embodies. Who would imagine that a juvenile detention center would foster a criminal gang? This is one of the casino shops. The juvenile inmates, immersed in gambling, excitedly cursing and losing control, Just moments ago lucky, but now out of money. Just one more round, I'm about to win. He's on the verge of desperation, going crazy from losing all his money. Suddenly, Park Do-hwan approaches casually saying, we'll lend you money if you put up collateral. Along with a juicy offer, a promissory note for the collateral has already been prepared. The drunk kid sweats nervously, glancing at the promissory note. For a moment, he almost agrees, while Park Do-hwan still smiles. Get lost. Don't mess with this guy. Why say that? In the north, Do-hwan thought quietly, these kids are already addicted to gambling now. Back here, Cha Ju-young breaks the dice and says to the still startled John-ho, see, the dice has a magnet. His eyes gleam with pride. Isn't this cheating? Everyone becomes alert. On this side, John-ho squints suspiciously. What do you mean cheating? Cha Ju-young crushes the dice, keeping only the circular magnet inside. Inside the dice like this, the results are manipulated. Chaos spreads with this news just delivered. What? Cheating at a casino? The shiny magnet in Cha Ju-young's hand proves this casino shop manipulates the results. Am I wrong? You control the dice with a magnet to pick the numbers you want, right? John-ho chokes up a bit. That's not it. What you confuse with a magnet is usually used to stabilize the center of gravity of the dice. That's the dice's weight. As he spoke, John-ho pulled out a magnet bar from his pocket. All right, here's a real magnet bar. Cha Ju-young, confused, asked again. What? John-ho brought the magnet bar close to Cha Ju-young. Do you want to hold it close? You also brought the object in your hand close to the magnetic bar that John-ho brought over. As expected, the iron bar and the magnet did not stick together. If they were magnets, they wouldn't fall like that. Now, John-ho Jang, the magnet is attracting some small objects. See, this is not a magnet. The air around is buzzing oddly. It makes no sense. Why are you talking nonsense all of a sudden? You must be out of money. Haha. Another guy brought 2 dice. John-ho laughed as if nothing had happened. Let's play again. Park Ju-ho stood at a distance, watching everything that had just happened, his face full of personal calculation. A moment later, John-ho let out a laugh. Gawa is fast indeed. Cha Ju-young sat cross-legged, holding his forehead. Already lost all, huh? What I thought the chances of winning were the same. His eyes looked at the 2 dice on the mat. Is this just my bad luck? John-ho laughed and said, you're out of money, right? Cha Ju-young rummaged through his pocket. Waiting a moment, he pulled out a piece of paper and threw it forcefully on the ground. It's just a piece of paper. Ji Eun-ho comforted him. But it's impressive to lose on the first try. Oh my. Suddenly nearby, there was a loud noise. A tall, dark-skinned guy was using a screwdriver to pry from all sides. Damn it, this scam. It's all a scam. Those bastards think I'm stupid, or what everyone felt. They couldn't understand what was happening. They only saw that guy losing control. My Hugh, don't give them money, don't give it. His wrist was squeezed so hard it hurt the screwdriver drop to the ground. Baek Do-hwan looked very calm. It's fun when you win, but seems like you get loud when you lose, huh? He grabbed the head of the troublemaker and slammed it strongly to the ground. Baek Do-hwan chuckled. Do you have any proof that cheating happened? The troublemaker trembled and spoke word by word. It's just that the results were all odd numbers. Baek Do-hwan replied, that's just speculation, no proof at all. Baek Do-hwan smirked. If you want to cause trouble, it will be a big problem because it will disturb other customers. Cha Ju-young quietly observed the situation. He spoke again. Oh, sorry, for safety reasons, please understand us. Everyone keep playing, someone sighed. Wow, look at that confident attitude. There are many pranksters today, fools. If you're mad, then go play. Cha Ju-young didn't know what to do next. He just stayed silent amid the mocking words around. The corridor was quiet, the booths closed off inside here. The guy with the mushroom haircut asked Cha Ju-young, how's the gambling, Hall? Cha Ju-young lowered his face a bit. I lost all the money. I can't find any evidence of cheating. Light from outside shone through the door crack. What about you guys? The other 2 put their hands in their jackets. They simultaneously pulled out 2 different cards. The mushroom-headed guy said, we stole them exactly as planned. The mushroom-headed guy recalled the earlier process. Cha Ju-young smashed the dice. Meanwhile, they had taken 2 cards one by one from nearby. A few words of admiration, Joyun, you acted brilliantly. Thanks to you distracting everyone, we easily stole them from another table. The 3 sat huddled, looking at the 2 cards on the ground. How is it? The plan was outstanding, so embarrassing. Wait, if it's cheating, then there must be something on the cards. Cha Ju-young smiled. Right, it must be here. Elsewhere, a fight was breaking out. Water splashed everywhere along with pleading apologies. Please forgive me, it's my fault. Baek Do-hwan grabbed the hair of the troublemaker from earlier. The engine noise sounded like it was about to take his life away by the second. Like it was about to take his life away by the second. My gambling hall is cheating. People like you just spread nonsense rumors. As he spoke, he pressed the troublemaker's head against the spinning wheel, moving at high speed. Despite the man's desperate screams begging for mercy, "Wait, it's troublesome." The screams were shrill, blood splattered along with the roaring engine. The man collapsed, blood already spreading on the ground and staining Park Joo-hoon's hands and clothes. John-ho stepped forward cautiously, and Park Joo-hoon replied accordingly. John-ho trembled as he said that the customer named Cha Joo-young at his table caused trouble. Baek Do-hwan took the handkerchief from him, the blood on his hands soaking into the cloth, saying, "It wasn't your fault." He draped his arm around the kid who was dazed on the street. The kid was confused by his words. What's there to be happy about? He used a mocking tone and didn't intend to let the kid go. "Come on, bro, betting is fun, isn't it?" The kid seemed like he didn't want to understand what he was saying, his eyes wide as he looked at him. Though he smiled while talking about gambling, he aggressively stuffed the whole piece of cake in the kid's hand into his mouth, making him choke and unable to speak. "Oh man, look at you, little bro. Still planning to pretend you don't remember anything." The scenes at the casino flashed through the kid's mind, losing bets, and Park Do-hwan proposing collateral. "There's still another way we'll lend you money in exchange for collateral." He slid a collateral agreement in front of the kid, the very collateral the little bro had signed. He grinned, showing off a golden tooth, looking like a dumbass, pretending to be classy, both scary and annoying. He spat out each word consent form for organ harvesting. The kid felt like he was struck by lightning, staring blankly at the signed agreement. He kept rambling non-stop about the kid's details. 1.74 meters tall, weighs 64 kilograms. The little bro doesn't drink, smoke, or have any serious illnesses. He's a healthy young man. Most importantly, his blood type is O negative. "Here, I've been waiting for you a long time." In front of them were stairs. The higher you go, the faster your life is taken away. The kid was scared, but it seemed too late now. The trunk was closed, and he was now settled in a cool room. They are young and full of vitality, which is why their organs are so fresh, making them sell like fresh shrimp. As he spoke, he grinned widely, pointing at the new gold tooth he had just gotten, showing off. "Look, I got a new tooth too. All thanks to our dear Dr. Do-hwan." Dr. Do-hwan laughed in response. "Haha, it's nothing major. This Park Do-hwan is an organ smuggler, sentenced to 2 years and 6 months, currently running a gambling den inside the prison." Behind the sunglasses he wore were eyes that looked more dangerous than the mocking attitude he showed outside. "But how long do you plan to keep going?" The two sat opposite each other, separated by iron bars. He placed both hands on the table. "If you leave traces for too long, others will find out. The prison warden is a sly fox who might dodge responsibility, but you'll probably have to bear all the blame alone." Though he said it was concerned, he still smirked when Park Do-hwan said the following. "Even if this leaks and the worst happens, it's fine because there's no problem in this world that money can't solve." The barred window of the cell still let in some light each morning. The three of them kept busy with 2 cards stolen from Park Do-hwan's casino. "It's been marked already." Cha Joo-young looked closely at the back of the card. The difference was very subtle. "Now I understand why no one has noticed until now." Then Mushroomhead held his forehead before Cha Joo-young's detailed analysis, but still felt a bit proud and smug. "Majim, did you see that even Sloth would pee his pants in front of my sharp eyes? I know I was the one who found it, but I can't help being proud." Majiam didn't want to comment on Mushroomhead's attitude. Cha Joo-young's back was straight now. "I have the sword to cut his head off." Cha Joo-young looked confident, knowing he had the upper hand. "Tonight we're going to the gambling den." The door opened, noisily as usual. Cha Joo-young stepped through the threshold, and inside he ran into John-ho. He was preparing a gambling game. "Cha Joo-young, are you coming back?" Cha Joo-young walked over to the table where John-ho was standing. "My job is simple. First open a card game table." Cha Joo-young looked at the cards on the table. "This is the ace dealer, right?" John-ho smiled and said yes. "Take a seat." Cha Joo-young sat down, still deep in thought, planning to expose the tricks here in front of everyone, then think it over, interrupted by a familiar yet strange voice. Park Do-hwan was suddenly sitting in front of him. "You're here, I've been waiting for you." But Park Do-hwan remained calm, sitting across from Cha Joo-young, smiling softly as he continued. "No matter that Cha Joo-young is still chaotic in his mind, do you want to play around with me?" What he's joining in right from the start. Cha Joo-young seemed unable to foresee this move. "What's going on?" Park Do-hwan said again. "I'm really curious why both of you sitting face to face seem to be trying to see who will lose their cool first." Park Do-hwan spoke softly, sentence by sentence. "Why are you targeting the Heavenly Dragon Society?" Many doubts were running through Cha Ju-young's mind. What is he scheming? If you respond to me, I won't reveal your personal matters to him. Park Do-hwan said again, how about this? If I win, you tell me your reason. Cha Ju-young pressed his lips. Fine, it's not a big deal. Anyway, actually, this might be better. He smiled. If you want that, fine. Now I don't have to look for you anymore. Everyone around noticed where the two were sitting. The operator here is going to play a match himself. Is this the first time Park Do-hwan crossed his arms? You can choose the game. Cha Ju-young seemed to ponder. I already tried dice, so I don't know if I should play cards I've never tried before. Now, John Ho, I now brought out a deck of cards in that case. How about trying a game that even beginners can easily play? What do you think about the matching card game? It's very simple. You just flip the cards and try to match the numbers to be the same. John Ho explained the rules and simulated the scoring method. If you get two matching numbers, you continue your turn. If you mismatch, then it's the opponent's turn. The key is to remember the positions of the cards you've seen. Cha Ju-young seemed interested in the game. Sounds good. As long as one person knows the marked cards, they'll never lose. If I don't know which cards are marked, I'll definitely lose. John Ho neatly arranged the cards on the table. The people around stopped what they were doing to watch this game. The operator Park Do-hwan versus Head of Department 36 Cha Ju-young. Everyone buzzed when they heard the identity of the person who made the operator step in. Who is Cha Ju-young? Isn't he the one who targeted other department heads in the camp? One person said, hey, Majium, did I see that wrong? Majium remained silent as usual. Cha Ju-young looked slightly stunned. On the table were their cards. He was trying to spot differences from the details. But still nothing. The marks on the back of the cards had all disappeared. Mushroom Head felt a bit scared. What is this? Are those marks so small that our eyes can't see them? Majium also quietly observed, no, definitely not. There are no marks on the cards at all. Park Do-hwan smiled at Cha Ju-young. The patterns on these cards are beautiful, huh? As you can see, our gambling den only uses the highest quality decks. Cha Ju-young felt trapped. He knew from the start, but Park Do-hwan said besides this game, we still have many games for beginners. So if you find normal betting games too hard, you can start with something light like Catch the Thief. Cha Ju-young seemed to realize. Park Do-hwan knew from the start. He knew which cards we stole. John Ho tilted his head to look at Cha Ju-young. Are you ready? If so, please place your bets. Park. Do-hwan put a stack of cash on the table. Maybe I'll start with this amount. Everyone around witnessed this scene. Park Do-hwan said again, I'm the operator, so I can't play too much. So I hope this game won't be too boring. Cha Ju-young looked at John Ho. But I don't have money. John Ho smiled and replied, don't worry. Even if you don't have money, you can still play as long as you have collateral. Mushroom Head was surprised. The collateral agreement was placed in front of Cha Ju-young. You just need to sign here. An organ donation agreement. You just mark the body part corresponding to the amount you want to bet. The agreement includes prices and a diagram of body parts. Kidney USD, 262,000, approximately 295, 600,000. One a blood pin, approximately 380,000 won. That's how it is. Hurry up. Cha Ju-young was still stunned when he saw the agreement. The crowd around kept buzzing. I only heard the rumor, but I didn't expect it to be true. What are they going to operate on? Is something happening in the prison? This is crazy. Must be a lie. Two men at the gambling den were fierce challenging each other. Baek Do-hwan laughed. Oh dear, are you scared now? Majium pondered. They definitely must have cheated in this game. Cha Ju-young has no chance of winning. Luckily, we realized it before betting. He can quit right now. Suddenly, everyone couldn't believe their eyes when Cha Ju-young signed the agreement. What's going on, damn it? Cha Ju-young said, don't speak without keeping your word. I don't need money, but I can still play, as long as I have collateral, right? Both Mushroom Head Viva and Majium exclaimed, what is he doing, that crazy guy? Cha Ju-young put down the pen. How could I refuse? From head to toe, I'll bet everything. Cha Ju-young and Park Do-hwan sat facing each other at the table. The cards were arranged in neat rows. Cha Ju-young slammed the agreement down, betting his entire body from head to toe, his eyes blazing with determination. I bet it all. Around them were spectators watching the show. How could they not be hooked by such an exciting event? Baek Do-hwan smiled. All right then. Mushroom Head and Majium could only silently watch from the outside. Clearly, they cheated, yet he plans to bet his own organs. What is he thinking? John Ho broke the tense atmosphere, matching cards and looking for pairs. The first turn was Jueyeon's. Cha Ju-young frowned, looking at the cards on the table, his hand lightly sliding over the faces before choosing one. I like simplicity. 8, 9, 0. John Ho laughed. Different numbers. Bak Do-hwan reached out, picked a card, and flipped a 9, this 9. Cha Ju-young was somewhat surprised. 9. Bak Do-hwan flipping back the 9 card. The one Ju-young had picked must be this card. The crowd buzzed. Cha Ju-young wasn't flustered and said immediately, "You've been lucky from the start." Bak Do-hwan continued flipping matching pairs internally, feeling contempt. Just 2 words, lucky as always. Luck is the most important in any gamble. He clearly saw the position of the cards somehow. Luck, now it's my turn. It can't be just luck. I already know the exact positions. Bak Do-hwan raised a 2 card. Oh, this time I flipped 2 different cards. John-ho joined in, wrong again. It was Cha Ju-young's turn. Unsurprisingly, he picked wrong again, not a pair. Bak Do-hwan kept the upper hand. His thoughts swirled at the edge of his eyes. I knew the exact position of each card because I predetermined the order with the dealer and memorized it all before starting. No evidence, a simple but perfect cheat. He laughed loudly as luck kept coming. Haha, I'm pretty lucky today. You just have to sit there helpless as I take everything from you, pathetic. Now John-ho announced the next win, 4 cards already. Next was boss Park Do-hwan's turn. Recalling his memories, the dignified man before him was his beloved father. The man asked Do-hwan, "Why do you like being like your father?" Teenage Park Do-hwan had the demeanor of a wealthy young master living under his father's protection, and he greatly admired his father. Why ask such an obvious question? Because dad makes a lot of money. The man patted his head, smiling brightly. And he is too. Kiddo, your dad goes to work and talks like that. I guess that's it. Today, dad will also work hard for his son, Do-hwan. Outside, Bak Do-hwan remembered his father as a great figure, a broad back that could shelter from rain and wind. My dad has the most reliable back in the world, I think. But no dream can spare anyone. The image of the great father, shabby in a casino, shattered all the beauty in the child's eyes. Every day, dad didn't go to work, but went to the casino. Later, I heard he borrowed 50,000 won at high interest, like a fool, without knowing the betting system had cheated him. The guy sitting in front of the casino game computer screen unconsciously said, "Do-hwan, you take after your dad and I will make a lot of money for you." The current Bak Do-hwan was sitting in front of the cards thinking, "Oh my God, maybe luck is on my side today. I can't believe I flipped all the right ones." With the mindset of a family member of a victim, he saw it as foolishness. I'm not as stupid as my father. I'd rather be the one cheating the outsiders. The game had begun to mock Cha Ju-young's bad luck. Boo-hoo, Ju-young still hasn't flipped a single pair. This guy is doomed, ha-ha. The laughter grew louder, and no one doubted or worried about the player's survival. They just watched the game with the attitude, "At this rate, the game is almost over when they take his organs. He'll probably start crying, and then where will he have eyes to cry with?" Facing those cruel words, Cha Ju-young showed no panic, just calmly said, "Should I show them now? Let them know this game was rigged." Bak Do-hwan looked at him with suspicion. Cha Ju-young flipped a card that matched the one he had just revealed, causing everyone around to gasp in relief. All were matches. Donam and Magium were half believing and half doubting. Did he finally get lucky? No way, it must be a coincidence. 2 5s were flipped by Cha Ju-young, and everyone admired again. He got another match, so it's luck again, but it took some time to flip all 16 cards. Oh, another match still there. Bak Do-hwan frowned, and an outsider began to get more surprised. Wait, how many pairs has he flipped? Cha Ju-young's hands swiftly flipped matching pairs continuously. The onlookers went from surprise to disbelief. How can he flip all of them right 13 pairs in a row, 15 spots almost out of cards? Bak Do-hwan clenched his teeth silently, his inner turmoil gnawing with indescribable frustration. This can't be happening. Only he and the dealer knew the positions of the cards. Only he and the dealer, that's right. His panic was justified because he had previously exchanged with Jeon-ho on the day Cha Ju-young came to the casino to play dice, leaving a piece of paper when clearing the table. Now John-ho had picked up that piece of paper. He opened it and read. A message was left on it saying, "Meet behind the restroom as agreed." The two met. John-ho asked why he was called here. Cha Ju-young crossed his arms and leaned back against the wall. His words went straight to the point. "I already know you guys are rigging the cards." John-ho remained calm. "What do you mean?" So he was the card thief, but they were all kicked out already. Cha Ju-young continued, "You must have swapped all the cards already, changing them to unmarked ones. That's why I called you here. I'll be straightforward." The two stood facing each other as Cha Ju-young said, "I will save you." John Ho couldn't believe his ears. What? Cha Ji-young continued analyzing. You and the other dealers in this gambling den are working to pay off Park Do-hwan's debt, right? Lending money using people's organs as collateral. I will pay off your debt, you just have to help me once. What John Ho replied, you're talking nonsense, that's dirty talk. If I side with you and something happens, Do-hwan will kill me. This conversation isn't a favor, it's a deal. I heard you owe him quite a lot. Do you think you can pay it all off by the time you're released? I mean, you only have 1 week left until bail. Cha Ju-young painted a realistic picture for Jeon Ho about the debt working and what he will face upon release. I don't know if you want to be taken to the operating table the moment you're freed. While John Ho pondered, Cha Ju-young softly said, your role is as simple as rolling dice. When everyone watches, you will expose the truth about this scam. The face-down cards on the table were gradually being flipped up one by one.